Yeehaw!
Hey, everybody.
What's up, pal?
Welcome to the NorCal Sports Network.
The hood is legendary. How about that?
And we've got Los in the house. Is that
right off the IL?
What's the guy in Star Wars, the villain? What
Senator Palpatine, the Emperor.
There he is, man. Look at that. Look at that.
The Unabomber.
Count Dooku.
The Unabomber.
The Unabomber. There he is. Los is back, recovering from COVID. I'm on my comfy chair, recovering from back surgery, man. And yet we're in better health than the Giants.
That's good. Hey, Carlos even talking. Hey, Dan, he says, bring out the fork.
Oh, man.
Bring out the fork.
I'll bring out the fork here in a week or two, probably, huh? Yeah, when they get through this.
Man.
See if they can get through this gauntlet somehow. But
Eric and his beard is the only one healthy.
Yeah. Exactly. That's I love what you said yesterday. Oh, that was great.
Balco's coming back. Look at that. Shaved a couple days ago, and tomorrow the thing will be hanging down his chin.
Oh, man.
So, hey, rough one tonight. Giants get, 3 hits?
3 hits.
And the best hit of the night, save for the 9th inning, Elliot Ramos, who they called up, sit his butt on the bench all day Wednesday, and then they sit him all night tonight, bring him up in the 9th inning, and he smokes a ball of 112 point what? What was it, Eric?
112.7. Almost 113.
112.7. He hit it so hard the center fielder couldn't judge it. I mean, it should have been an out, but the center fielder totally was kind of got frozen by the ball. The ball was kind of moving a little bit on him too, and it just and then he flopped around out there and kicked the ball around, dropped it, whatever he did, and turned it a double into a double plus an error. Then Ramos is able to score. The only killer that is for people who bet Texas on the run line, and cost him that. But dang, man, I'll tell you, the Giants are a
mess.
Sorry,
as MF says, the Giants are a mess. But here's a good point. I like what Lou said. Bottom of my 8th, Giants needed a huge hit. They could have brought up Ramos.
Yeah, they brought up Mathis.
Yeah,
a journeyman.
Yeah.
A guy who's 29 and, he's got some pop. He's had some major league home runs and,
who's having more success recently?
Well, yeah, exactly. Ramos has been hot. Ramos, and you saw him drill the ball. And the thing about Ramos hit it was with 2 strikes too.
Exactly.
So
the Giants don't understand the meaning of hot and how to take advantage of it.
Nope. They play platoon.
They'll stay with their system until.
And how about Bochy? He's got a starting pitcher who could go out there for 7 strong.
Oh my! What is that?
Yeah.
What is a starting pitcher?
Exactly.
And you got Ross. I think Ross's middle name is now has been changed to. Is it Ross G. Stripling? You guys know what the G's for, right?
Let's hear it.
Gopher.
Yeah.
How about Gong?
Yeah, gone, but he's throwing up gopher balls, constant gopher balls. Yeah. The guy throws up a minimum of 1 a game. Tonight it was back-to-back, and that was the Giants doing.
That was it.
That was it. All right, listen to this, guys. I put out a tweet. During the game, they interviewed Max Scherzer live, and Max Scherzer had this to say about playing for Bruce Bochy and other old school managers. They know where to use analytics, and most importantly, they know where not to use analytics. They know when to trust the human element of the game, trust the players, and they just have so much experience and seen so much different things over the years, so they're great baseball minds to talk to and learn from. That's what the Giants do not have.
Nope.
They do not have it. And what Max was saying was more than it was a mouthful. I'll tell you why. Because it just told me that players talk amongst themselves in the league, and
all the time
do not want to come and play for this bull crap of having guys platoon constantly. And it's just so Max Scherzer had that to say, and says a lot. So,
or Dan, they'll come here, but the Giants have to overpay them so bad to come here, and that just gets them even a little bit more of a financial.
Well, we're going to get more into that here. Hey, I see someone in agreement.
Yeah,
let's welcome in the man of the hour. The man who doesn't sleep. Oh my God, man.
I heard somebody say bull crap, and it just made me go, hey, somebody's talking Giants baseball. Let's get over there. And I figured, you know what? There's 4 of us here, but there were only, I think, isn't that one more than how many total Giant hits tonight?
3.
Oh, there was 3.
Hits.
So we have one extra person. We can all we could pretend like this is the wrap, and like everybody takes one hit, and then whoever doesn't take the one hit, maybe, I don't know.
One of us is not getting a hit. I've been ill for the last week, so I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take the bench.
Yeah, the opening of the show was Los has got COVID. I'm laid up. I just had back surgery yesterday, but yet we're healthier than the Giants.
Yeah. Well, I'm surprised that they're not raking. I mean, they did get Pollock at the deadline, and I mean that's had a profound impact on the lineup. I tweeted that out the other day sarcastically, and some lady's like, "You're what's wrong with Giants Twitter."
Oh my God!
Like, no, lady, you're what's wrong with Giants Twitter.
Other way around. Oh my
Unbelievable.
gosh.
Yeah, it's
they don't hit. They can't score.
Nope.
Reminds me of a buddy I went to college with. He just could never score.
He was not a good wingman, Larry.
I mean, this guy couldn't get laid in a whorehouse. And the Giants, what the heck's going on with the Giants right now? My God.
It's pathetic. This is going on, what, 2 months?
It's going on 2 months. And yet, but Kapler's not concerned about it. He says,
No.
Not concerned. He says he's seen these guys hit for too long. And you might want to start getting a little concerned, Gabe. You've got 2 more with the Rangers, and then you got the Rays, and then you go on the road to Atlanta and Philadelphia, then come home and you got the Braves and the Reds, and then you go to the Padres and Chicago Cubs. You might want to get some guys hitting, and you might want to play Ramos, the guy that was hitting 300 in the minors, instead of coming him up here and sitting him for 2 games. He promptly comes up and drills a ball almost 113 miles an hour.
Amazing. He's a great guy too.
Yeah,
I interviewed
we'll just
him.
We'll just keep him on the bench.
Yeah, you don't need him. What do you need a dangerous hitter? When you got Pollock, who's 35, and his best thing that he does is he hits lefties. Oh, but he's hitting 114 off lefties. And then it's like night after night after night, they don't score. And they're like, well, why are we not scoring? Because you're the worst OPS team in the baseball since the middle of June.
Yep.
And nobody told Tandy 5000 about it. And so he didn't do anything about it at the deadline. Though, I mean, I got to admit this. I mean, you say whatever you want about Farhan. He's this, he's that. He is the worst salesperson of all time.
Absolutely.
Anybody who does sales, you have to manage your clients' expectations.
Exactly.
The Giants fans, Farhan, let me try to explain this to you. The Giants fans are in this situation your clients. And so you can't say, we're going to go gangbusters at the trade deadline and pull out A.J. Pollock. If you're going to pull out A.J. Pollock, you say nothing and you just say, well, we'll see the way it shakes out. Mm-hmm. Instead, this is 3 years in a row where he has talked a huge game, going into the free agent market or going into the trade deadline, only to come away with nothing. And it's like, dude, how many times are we going to really call this guy intelligent if he can't understand the basic tenet of sales, which is under promise and over deliver? It just shows that he's such a analytical wizard and he's so in his own numbers and his computers that he's never done sales in his life. He's never had to sell anybody anything.
Never.
So he doesn't realize that you have to under promise and over deliver, not the opposite. If you promise nothing and give them AJ Pollock, guess what? You're ahead. If you're guaranteeing that we are gonna this and you give them AJ Pollock, they're laughing at you and they're blaming you.
Oh,
So
yeah, the whole league. I saw him on MLB. What's the guy's name? I keep forgetting his name. The guy that used to be the GM of the Rockies.
Dan Duquette or Dan O'Dowd.
Dan
O'Dowd,
O'Dowd,
yeah. He was Greg Ansinger said, well, the Giants, they've been really quiet. What's going on? This is right at the end of the deadline. And O'Dowd says, well, they got Pollock. And then he held back a smirk and he couldn't hold it.
And then the people are like, the other answer I got is, well, okay, Mr. Big Mouth Negativity, who did you want them to trade for? Well, first of all, Jack, it ain't my job. Second of all, it wasn't like do something. Either commit to improving or sell and move off of your guys.
Yep.
Instead, they do nothing. And guess what? Here we are. It's August the 11th. The Giants are 2 games up in the wild card, and people are like, yeah, they're a playoff team. They're a playoff team today. Are they going to be a playoff team at the end of September? If I had to bet everything that I have on the Giants making the wild card or missing the wild card, I'm betting on missing the wild card. I don't know where you guys are. I don't think they're going to make the wild card. Somebody's going to rise up and beat them, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs are probably going to win the division. If not, they will beat them. The Phillies will definitely beat them. And if the Cubs win the division, the Brewers will be ahead of them. So it's going to come down to the Giants and the Marlins, Reds, and maybe Padres, D-backs. One of those teams will probably surpass them. I still believe the Padres can come on strong. They've got the horses. They've got the vets. They've got the pitching.
I mean, if today was September, 10th or September 11th or whatever, and they just had, 2-3 weeks, I'd say, oh yeah, they'll hold on. But look how much real estate is left in the regular season, and look at who their schedule is against. They're going to be lucky if they hang on. It's going to be by the skin of their teeth.
Well, their biggest stretch is going to be they've got 4 at the end of August, beginning of September. They got 4 in San Diego and 3 in Chicago. Those 7 games, I think, most likely could be their death nail because they go on that trip and they go 1-6, maybe another 0-7. They're, San Diego is going to be up for that series, and it's in San Diego at Petco. The place will be packed. Giants got beat pretty badly down there earlier in the season, and then they they played them only in Mexico, didn't they? Yeah, so this will be their first series in San Diego. Those fans are going to be hyped. I just think they're fighting an uphill battle, and their pitching staff, they've only got 2 starting pitchers. Stripling gives them pretty good innings, but he always gives up 1 to 2 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
Cost him against Oakland, and it cost him tonight.
They've scored like 1 run in like 4 of the last 6 games.
Yeah, they cannot score
1 run.
They ain't gonna do it.
Their best athletes.
This is exactly what I was scared of. If they didn't sell, which I was a proponent of, even when they were 12 games over 500, I said this team is not a damn contender. It is a pretender. Got a lot of pushback from the chat. Got a lot of pushback from friends and family that I know. I said, this team is just not a contender. So sell and get some more prospects. But they didn't do either. Okay, if you're not going to sell, then get a Mike Lorenz and get a Verlander. Get right. Something in here. They got Pollock.
Lorenzen,
absolutely.
Oh, they could have. We talked about that.
They did, which is basically nothing.
Lorenzen was a guy, Rose, they could have had easily, but Farhan
For a
is
song
not a
and a
sales
dance.
guy. I heard gosh, I keep drawing blanks. I said his name many times already today. Dave Dombrowski, the GM of the Phillies, or president, or whatever you want to call him. He was making 200 to 300 calls, he said, to Scott Harris. Between texts and calls, kept working it. And, and then after Rodriguez turned down the Dodgers, there's no way Scott Harris was going to get left hanging with nothing and have Lorenzen walk as a free agent. So he had to make a deal. And who was staying in his ear was Dombrowski. Farhan had Scott Harris on his staff. He hired Scott Harris away from the Cubs to make him the GM. That should have been an easy layup for Farhan. I mean,
well,
what is he thinking?
How about Mark Canna? You couldn't get Mark Canna?
Yeah.
Well, it's
hey,
Larry, this is something. Oh, go ahead, Los. Oh, we were talking about this. One of the strengths of the Giants is the starting pitching, and people wanting to come here to be a starting pitcher because they could kind of rehash their career. But the way that the Giants have been going this year with the opener, you're platooning starting pitching. What starting pitching is going to want to come to the Giants when you got this philosophy of an opener? You devalue the position of the starting pitching. They ain't going to get the contracts that you normally get for a starting pitcher. So now not only are you're sabotaging yourself with, the ballpark, not really their fault, but now you're self-inflicting
their one
pitching.
Strength. That's their strength.
Yes.
That they can attract. They
crazy.
Can attract free
so
agents,
hitters don't want to come here because they platoon. Pitchers don't want to come here because if they're not platooned. If they're not completely dominant, they're going to go back and forth from the bullpen to the starting rotation to
I'll tell you what.
Back down to
yeah, I'll tell you what, guys.
You know what they need? They need that free agent. They need that free agent that wants. I need somebody who's anal, neurotic with a hand tattoo, who's going to question my political stances and guilt me into believing what he believes. If they can find that guy, they got a great chance to land him. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time. All this talk about Ohtani. Come on, Ohtani's not coming.
Ain't happening.
Ohtani's not coming here.
Well, there's one hope that there's one possibility that can change the Giants' fortunes. And we did a kind of a show on it this afternoon. There was a senior softball game's been in our chat the last couple months saying that he has heard that Buster, through a source of his, that Buster Posey is moving back to the Bay Area. And today on Murph and Mac, they had Bruce Bochy on, and Bochy at the end of his time with Murph and Mac said he heard that Buster was moving back to the Bay Area. And Murph said, "What? I didn't know that." And he goes, "Oh, that's not out. Oh, forget it. Scratch that. I didn't mention that." And so the fact is if Posey's coming back to the Bay Area, is he going to play a bigger role this next season in the Giants, either as a spokesperson for the Giants? Is he going to possibly push Farhan out and take over that role himself? We know he doesn't want to manage, but are the Giants waking up to the fact that they cannot attract top-level ball players under this current regime? Because I believe players don't want to play for the top players. You heard it with Scherzer tonight. He basically said so, that and we heard Buster. Let me read you Buster Posey's quote that was in Andrew Baggerly's article today about Bruce Bochy. This was a great quote that came from Buster talking about his time with Bochy, and then Max Scherzer said the same exact thing tonight. It's unbelievable. Let me pull this up and see if I can find the article.
The Baggerly one.
Yeah. You know what?
While you're looking for that, Jose Castaneda says Posey could be the best hitter on the team right now. Facts.
He probably could be, but that does tell something, because when you're an owner, you don't have to be within the vicinity of San Francisco to be the owner of an organization. I think it says that he wants to be more part of this organization, more than just being an owner. It sounds like.
Well, guys, I've asked this before, and we never really got a definite answer. Farhan is the face of the franchise as far as the vice president of operations. What in the blue hell does Pete Pachulia do? Isn't he the GM? Nobody talks about him being on the phones or not on the phones or making trades or talking to people. He's just like a silent partner, and that's as silent as you can freaking get. I don't ever hear about that dude.
It was the same with Scott Harris.
I want his job. I want to do nothing and get a paycheck. I want his job.
Yeah.
Here we go. Excerpt from Andrew Bagley's article in The Athletic. Quote is from Buster Posey. He says, I haven't watched enough Rangers games, but I know when we were playing, he rarely had notes with him. He did his homework before the game. I identified with that as well, having all that preparation fresh in your mind, but then letting your instincts take over and watch what unfolds and make decisions based on that. Whereas now you see a lot more tactical decisions being made while looking into a binder or an iPad or something like that. That's Buster Posey. We heard Max Scherzer say tonight about the same basic thing. You're hearing stars, Hall of Fame players talk about old school managers and instincts. And the Giants are run by analytics, computer-driven software that plugs in everything, and they got a manager that follows it to a T, to the point where they bring up their number one prospect, position player prospect, and they sit him when he faces a right-handed pitcher in Marco Luciano. They pinch hit for him in the 7th inning with a 5-3 lead and nobody on, leading off an inning. That's how sick this organization is. They can't even play their best prospect, who's 19th or 20th or what, now he's 27th prospect in all of baseball. Why would you bring a guy up and in his debut, when the fans are excited, and he comes up with a 5-3 leading off the 7th, a chance to do damage, show his athleticism, maybe hit one into the gap, and you pinch hit for him with a guy who's hitting about 232. It just absolutely mind boggles me. They pinch hit for Crawford tonight with a journeyman named Mark Matthias. Okay, this is the Giants. Nobody wants to come play for this. They watch, they see it, they hear from the other players. I think a change has to happen, and I wonder if Buster moving back to the Bay Area is the start of something happening in 24 season, because this is
what role do you think he would play? I don't see him as a manager, and I don't see him as a general manager. I think he's more of a president type guy. The president of the team. And I mean, seriously, Kapler probably wakes up in the middle of the night in flop sweat. Oh, I thought we were in a Wi-Fi dead spot. It was the bottom of the 9th of the World Series and the Wi-Fi went down. And I wasn't sure. I mean, I was really losing it. Well, seriously, the Giants are a power outage away from, having no answers at all. No, I don't. I'm not a Kapler guy. I just, at the end of the day, I don't like Kapler. I'm not going to pretend that it's anything about anything. I don't think he's dumb or bad baseball guy or anything. I just don't like him. I don't like him. And baseball season is a long time, and you got to kind of like the manager. Otherwise, if you hate the manager and you really are like, this guy just, every time you hear him talk, you just like, your fist, you ball up your fists and are like, God, I want to, I can't stand this guy. He's so smug. He's so controlling. He's smart, but he's not likable. And he's not a regular dude. And then they had Bochy, who was like, hey, get a beer. I'm going to barbecue some steaks. I'm a Traeger. Come on over.
Well,
he was like the most likable.
Yeah.
Roger Craig, very likable. Dusty Baker, very likable.
Yep.
Gabe Kapler, if anything, if you were going to say anything about Gabe Kapler, you would say, I think he's effective. Nobody would ever say he's likable. Nobody wants to hang out with Gabe Kapler.
Well, he's busy, Larry. My Instagram got a little alert tonight. Follow Kapler. I look it up. He's doing another food review in the middle of the season in San Francisco restaurants. He's done about 5 of them, and he's out after ball games, sitting by himself, giving a review, whether it's after a ball game or off day. what manager has time to go out and do all these restaurant reviews and post them? And I mean, shouldn't you be worried about your team, trying to get some hits?
Mm-hmm.
Let him be one of these YouTube guys that travel the world and as a food critic and makes his eyes real big when he dives into food. Let him do that.
I mean, it's
what I'm talking about too.
I just don't like
His eyes get big.
I don't like hearing him talk. I don't like the way he manages. The other day, I mean, you got Sean Manaea. He's absolutely flat dealing, and you yank him for no reason at all. And it's funny too. It's like I heard the post game TV wrap, and Kruko did more to question Kapler than that Baltimore guy did to embarrass the Orioles. He was way more negative than that Orioles guy, and he's not getting suspended. And I'm not saying he should, but I'm just saying it's like he was like Gabe Kapler's got some explaining to do. Yeah, it's like I remember asking Boch one time about philosophies in managing. And he's like, it's not that complicated. My job is pretty much just to ride the hot hand. And you know what? Damn if he ain't right. That's what a manager's job is to do in 162. When you got a pitcher out there on the mound who's flat dealing and in rhythm, guess what? Go into the goddamn clubhouse and make yourself a sandwich.
Thank you.
Yes. Go get a back rub. Go for a walk around the mezzanine. I mean, do whatever you got to do. Sometimes the game manages itself. Not Kapler. Kapler's like, my Tandy 5000 told me at 1:30 in the printout that Manaea's got to come out at this point. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And it's like, there are actually people on the post-game show, and I credit Carlos Ramirez. Is that his name? Ramirez? Who was basically taking Kapler to task, and like Pavs was pushing back. It's like, dude, don't stop pushing back. He's not going to love you any more than he does right now, Pavs. Right. He's not going to adopt you. He's not going to leave. You're not going to be put in his will. So stop sucking up to him. Yep. Ramirez was making a great point. He said he was basically questioning the wisdom of pulling Manaea. He was dead right. Wotus is sitting literally an arm's distance away. He's not disagreeing, but you're going to disagree. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like the levels of that people will go to align with the power is just pathetic. I mean, it was a horrendous decision. You had a pitcher who was in absolute cruise control, who was at, Danny, you probably remember, 60 pitches, 62 pitches, something like that.
It's unreal.
He go into the clubhouse and get a rub down, whatever. Just go do whatever you got to do. Go fall asleep in a hole. Instead, no, I've got to inject myself into this thing. I've got to make the decision. I'm pulling him out.
And blew the game.
Game's over. You lost. Yep. Joke's on you. I mean, it's just his feel is non-existent, because even if he had a feel, he's so ruled by the numbers that he doesn't allow it to play out.
And the funny thing is, Larry, guess who was on base watching this whole thing unfold? Shohei Ohtani, watching this whole thing unfold in front of him. He ain't gonna want to go play with that fool.
Oh, he's not coming here.
Hey, listen. Look at read the senior's comment there, Eric.
It says Buster is part of the ownership. That quote that he had in Bag's article is very telling. I think that the Giants ownership is building up to something big. I could see them canning Farhan and Gabe.
That would be something. I think Buster, as competitive as he is, playing for Boch for his whole career and winning 3 world championships, and then playing for basically Kapler in 1 year. I mean, Boch's last year was 19. Buster didn't play in 2020. Plays in 21. Has a career, not a career year, but a Giants career year. But for a team, Buster hits 300, and then he retires. I mean, Buster still could have played, but I think the love of the game, probably knowing that Cap was there, was probably like too much for him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Maybe.
now he moves away to Georgia after, he retires. Then he comes back and buys a piece or gets a piece of the ownership. He's into the ownership group. Now he's coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if he has spoken with the top ownership group. He's already on the board. He's one of the board of directors that makes decisions for the Giants management or ownership group. So he may be carrying a voice and saying, look, I've talked to a lot of players around the league. We're not going to be able to get anybody. You think you're going to get Ohtani? There's no way. You think this club needs a new voice? And
they need a new face is what they need. They need a new public face.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm okay with Farhan, but this zero checks and balances where it's like Farhan's got his analytics and Gabe is just there to carry his analytics out onto the field. And Farhan wants him there because he wants to have the biggest impact that he could possibly have by having his analytics carried out on the field. Okay, but this blind adherence to analytics doesn't get you that. It gets you Blake Snell pulled in Game 7 of the World Series.
Yes.
Stop with this blind allegiance to the analytics. Mm-hmm. Have a smart manager who is going to listen to your analytics and then make decisions based on the combination of his instincts and the analytics. This 100% we're all in on the analytics is not serving them well. And I don't think it really ultimately you got to have, I mean, Ned could speak to this. You got to have a guy who the players know the buck stops with this guy. And I don't get the feeling that the Giants have that. I think Farhan's not that way. I don't think Gabe's that way.
No,
from the guys that I've talked to around that team, they say that Gabe kisses butt to all the players, is constantly sucking up to the players, that they don't work nearly as hard, that he doesn't want to, in any way upset them. And then Farhan's not going to tell the players, hey, you know what? I'm the big you-know-what here, and we don't have a chance to win. We're selling Alex Cobb. We're selling Madison Bumgarner. We're selling Carlos Rodon. It's like Farhan's afraid to deliver any bad news to the players. Gabe's afraid of the players as well. Right now, it's a rudderless ship with no leadership. You had saves. You had Coletti. You had strong managers in the past. You've lost it all. And who's in charge? I'd love to know if you did a poll question of, the players 1 through 25 on that team, 26. The buck stops with who in this organization? I bet you there would be like a lot of shrugs. There'd be like, maybe Farhan, maybe Gabe, maybe, Charles Johnson's kid, maybe Larry Bear, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a collective. It's a collaborative. When Sabian ran the show, you could go into that clubhouse and you could say, who is the buck stops with who? And everybody would say Brian, Brian and Ned and Brian, Dusty. You'd hear that. You would have somebody would have their opinion. Now it's like, I get the feeling that nobody wants to play the heavy with the players. Nobody wants to trade Alex Cobb when they're still in the wild card race, despite the fact that they don't have a chance in hell of beating anybody in the playoffs. Nobody wants to play the heavy last year and tell them, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're moving Carlos Rodon. So they just kind of like, okay, well, if we trade these veterans at the deadline, the clubhouse won't be happy. Okay, so what? You're in charge. Yep. You're the leader. You're supposed to lead. If you're in it, go for it and add to your team. If you're not in it, sell. But just to sit there drifting like a motorboat whose engine's down in the ocean, just kind of like just going along with the waves, doing nothing, seeing where it all carries you, that's not going to do it. And this idea that they're going to go to the playoffs, they are absolutely not going to the playoffs this year. Because it is August the 11th. You got the rest of August. You got all of September. They got a very slim lead. They didn't do anything to help their lineup. They can't score. They can't hit their way out of a wet paper bag. They've got 2 starting pitchers. It's not happening, man. Now, it's happened to this point. It's been a statistical aberration. That's what we call this thing. The Giants have the worst OPS in all of MLB since the middle of freaking June. The fact that they just went 7-2 on the last homestand is a miraculous achievement. And they're getting ready to hit a downslide. And it's like, I'm not wishing for it, but it's obvious that it's coming.
Everyone can see it coming.
Look at their offensive output. Look at their pitching staff.
Everyone.
This team is going to circle the drain before they get to there. There's not going to be playoff games here. I would be shocked. The Giants, I think Giants fans would be shocked if they don't make the playoffs. I'd be shocked if they do.
I don't know.
Playoffs.
If they're gonna come off analytics and go back to instinctive old school type of baseball, then
they don't have the people to do that.
Then Farhan has to go. He cannot stay because he'll just hire another manager to be the same way with his philosophy.
Exactly. So what do you think, Larry, of Larry? What do you think of Ron Wotus? Is he the kind of guy that could take this young? I mean, he managed.
He's a freaking great baseball man.
I know he's
managed in the minor leagues for decades. He's got the respect of the players. He's a smart guy. He drives them hard. He works hard. I don't know that he wants to do it.
I could see Posey coming in here and saying, we got to make moves. We got to get back to old school baseball. Yes, we'll implement analytics, but we're not going to rely 100% on analytics. And this whole way of listen to Ron.
Let Farhan run the draft. If Farhan wants to run the draft, let him run the draft. Make him just change titles. Just give Farhan the title of baseball ops or whatever. Go get a general manager that's over him, like a team president, general manager. Replace the manager. Get a little bit more of Giants history. Bring back guys like Will Clark. Bring back a Vogel song. Bring back some of these guys that were instrumental in winning championships. Rags and Wotus. And let's get back. I mean, I like the fact that the farm system is starting to produce some players. So I won't totally, not give credit where credit's due.
Exactly.
I like what I'm seeing out of the amateur system. I like the fact that the Giants have some young players coming up. That's a pleasant surprise, but I don't think they're going to be able to attract free agents. And I think that's a major way to get better. I mean, there's really two ways to get better: develop prospects or sign free agents. I would like to see a little bit more of the old school fire, whether that be Will Clark, Ryan Vogelsong, Dave Righetti, Ron Wotus, Ned Colletti. I mean, how about this? How about Ned as your general manager and Farhan as your head of baseball ops? Let him continue to work the minor leagues. Let Ned do the free agent signings. Ned's got a much better track record of attracting free agents than Farhan does.
Oh yeah.
Would Ned take that job?
In a New York minute.
Yeah, and the thing is Farhan, he cannot negotiate with players. He doesn't have the ability or the risk taking to make certain trades. Everything is so tactical. Here's some interesting point I wanted to read to you guys. This was in Bag's article that came out today in The Athletic about Bochy. He says, there'll be time for stories, though. Anyone who spent time around Bochy has loads of them. Here are a few that instantly came to mind last week for some of the people closest to him in San Francisco. Long time, and this is what you're talking about, Larry, about who's running the ship in this Giants organization right now. Longtime bench coach Ron Rodos, he had a lot of good meetings talking about Bochy, a lot of effective meetings. But there was a moment that made me realize this was the right guy to get accountability in this clubhouse and move it in the right direction. It was his first year in 2007, and he started off calm. Then he picked up a baseball bat and took a whack at the television in the clubhouse. He told the guys that we need to be focused on the game for 3 hours. Guys were watching TV. They were coming out late. So he took the bat to the TV, and what was a little bit funny about it, you expected the TV to explode, and it just sort of went thud because the new ones don't smash. So that pissed him off even more. A couple more thuds, and he destroyed it. He got worked up, and he let the players have it. it was one of the last times I saw a manager get into the players a little bit. That's a certain accountability that comes with the game. And I thought it was a defining moment for him. He wanted this team to realize what's important. Boch always had that presence. He's the guy in charge, right? It's like meeting John Wayne, but he didn't run over with the mouth. When he had something to say, it was pertinent. You listen more when someone leads you in that manner. I've never seen Kapler come out and fight for his players when his players are arguing. He leaves them out there to dry on the field. It's just unbelievable how he lets Kai Correa last week come out to the mound to do I think it was the A's game or the Angels, maybe it was the Angels, first and second. And they were going to put a play, and he has Correa come out and do the coaching. And I was listening to the announcers. I can't remember which broadcast it was, but they were saying, that's really odd. You don't ever see the bench coach. Maybe it was Kruko saying you rarely see a bench coach come out and,
Well, that article you just read, Dan, reminded me of a scene from Moneyball when the A's were losing and Billy was walking by the clubhouse and he heard music, and Giambi's brother was up there dancing, and he came to the clubhouse and grabbed a bat and said, "What the F are you guys like? Do you guys enjoy losing?" Like the thing that pisses me off about Kapler is he blows smoke up people's ass. Even though they're struggling, he comes out and he says, "Oh, I have all the confidence in the world that we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine." He never calls it as it is and holds people accountable. He's like Farhan. He lies and wants to tell people what they want to hear and not what the truth is. And that is getting old real fast.
Well, I definitely believe they have to make, if they make the playoffs somehow, I guess that gives them, some extra leash. But how
do you see it happening, man? They cannot score at all.
The only way they're making the playoffs is if other teams continue to falter.
That's the issue.
Other teams have to play bad. I mean,
look at what they got coming up. They got two more against the Rangers.
Murderers row.
They got Tampa, the Braves, Philly, Atlanta again, Cincy, 4 in San Diego, 3 at Wrigley.
Yep.
I mean, they're not. There's no way. There's just no way.
I said that they would get out of the race.
Not to mention, look at the way the season ends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They can finish the game. They finished the season with 10 games in a row against the Dodgers and Padres. And those teams, Padres will be trying to close fast at that point, most likely. Mm-hmm. We'll see if the Padres are in it at that point. But if they are, they're going to be hell to beat. And the Dodgers are going to be hell to beat.
Yeah,
so
take a look at these standings here. Cubs are right on their heels. Phillies are going to walk away with the number 1 wild card. They got momentum, they got excitement, they got hitting. Now they got a no hitting, Lorenzen throwing a no hitter. Cubs are on the move. Cincinnati, we don't know, what they're going to do. They're still pretty young. Miami added quite a bit at the deadline to get better. They added the kid Berger. From the White Sox.
Second baseman. Yeah.
And then, Diamondbacks are young, but I think it's the Padres. And I think the Phillies are definitely 1 wild card. Cubs are and Milwaukee's the other 2. I think it really probably comes down to the Giants, Padres, and Marlins. Maybe the Reds hang in there. They do have Votto as a veteran, and they got that young, exciting team. But these guys all can hit. Miami hasn't been a great hitting team, but they added.
Yeah, they got Josh Bell. Yep.
Yeah, they went out and added. Well, they go get Bell and they get Berger, who had like 25 homers. And then what do the Giants do? They get a guy off the IL, 35-year-old IL. And guess what? He plays a game and where is he? Back on the IL. They signed Mitch Haniger in the offseason. I remember Larry saying when they were looking to get Judge and it came out that Arson Judge and it was coming, and then it got, oh no, it's not. It was spoke too soon, and then that night they signed Haniger. And Larry, what did you say? I think you said this is a replacement for Judge, and people got on you.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, People are like, no, this is it. Could be in addition. There were people at the time going, they're going to sign Correa and Judge. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mitch Haniger. And I'm like, that's so Giants right now. That is so Giants. Mitch Haniger. It's no different than your buddy who's like, dude, I'm getting a Lambo. Dude, I'm getting a Lambo, Krug. I'm getting a Lambo. And then you see him like literally like 6 weeks later, and he's got a dented Ford Fiesta. And you're like, dude, what happened to the Lambo? Well, I decided to go with the Fiesta. It was a little bit more on my budget. Yeah, get out of here with your Lambo. I don't want to hear anything more about Ohtani. Seriously, I mean, enough Ohtani talk. Don't if you surprise me. If the Giants said even one word about Ohtani in any way, shape, or form, somebody should just take out a baseball bat and beat him over the head. It's like, seriously, do not tease your fans anymore. Somebody past the basics of somebody ought to drop a copy of Glenn Ross on Farhan's lap and just say, hey, why don't you watch this? Coffee's for closers, Farhan, and just make because the bottom line is they can't close. They can't close. They have not been able to close. I mean, the deals that they've made are terrible deals. Giving guys, outs at the end of the year. So it's like, if you have a bad year, you're back. But if you have a good year, you're going to get out. It's like, how many times did they do that this winter?
And every long-term contract, 3-year contract that Farhan has given out, they've all crapped the bed.
Look at
DFA'd, DeSclafani, Haniger. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the Giants' payroll problems are all of their own doing.
Exactly. And to think they're going to get Shohei, even a 10-year-old kid who I interviewed knows. Listen, how many games are you going to stay down here for?
Just 2.
2 games this weekend?
Yeah, because school starts on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Missing Monday, but don't.
Yeah, okay. We won't tell too many people. Okay, so you're going to see tomorrow. You're going to see the Cubs. And then Sunday, you'll be back here at Scottsdale and see the Reds. Yeah. So who's your favorite non-Giants baseball player?
Probably Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani. You hope he comes to the Giants next year?
He never will.
Spoken like a true Giants fan who's been let down one too many times. All right. He never will. Well, yeah. You
heard it here first, folks.
Okay. There you go.
That's good.
Little 10-year-old kid, he knows.
The 4 of us have been Giants fans for a very, very long time. Have you ever felt so emotionally unattached to the team as this? And before you answer that question, let me kill the elephant in the room. And this is tough to say, but I'm a straightforward type of guy. So the catch-22 is, if the Giants win and they make the playoffs, Farhan and Kapler are here to stay for a while. Mm-hmm. If they lose and do not make it, the chances of them being out and getting a new regime and having some long-term possible success and future and possibility exists.
Increases a little bit.
I'm just saying, it's hard to say I want the Giants to lose, but if it means that these 2 guys go, I'm having a debate within myself, honestly, night to night.
I know what you mean, because the fun is taken out of it. The fun is no longer when you have to watch a club. I mean, even somebody put out a tweet the other day. I think it might have been Bonta Hill or something that says, I know winning is great, but do you guys really enjoy watching this platooning and this, it's really hard to watch.
It's soccer with spikes on. I mean, It's like, seriously, I mean, that nobody can score at all. Mm-hmm. Tonight, 1 double by Ramos, otherwise 2 singles.
And it's no attachment to really any of the players either. It's just like, what jersey are you going to go out and buy? Webb, Oval, Bailey. That's it.
Just a nameless, faceless parade of middling relievers.
I think I like the 8,500 lost team better, honestly.
And then the one
team, Larry.
And then they bring up the top position prospect in Luciano. He stays up for a couple of days, right back down.
Yep.
It's like,
and what did he do? He was 3 for 11, scored 2 runs, and I mean, He was on base, was over 300. He was actually, infectious. The team was winning while he was here. I think he played 4 or 5 games. They won 4. They beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3, and then he was up a little before it. But he only lost 1 game while he was here. He was contributing, and then they say we want him to go down and learn a new position. So they put him at second base. My guess is he's got a little bit of a hammy. Probably messed it up trying to field a ground ball out of his normal position that he's never played in. I don't get it. I mean, Crawford's been on the IL twice this year, and they said they're going to, play him like Posey in the 21 season where they don't play him 3 games in a row. Now they play him every game, and he's going to be right back on the IL some point this year, and they're bringing Yaz back up this weekend, possibly as early as Sunday. And after they said he was going to be on the IL till closer to the end of August, so the thing will heal. So the same hamstring, 3rd time, it's not healed. I'm telling you, it's just he's feeling better. It's going to go again whenever he stretches himself. And then they play these guys, and they tell him, run at 70%. And they keep guys like Ramos, one of your fastest players, keep him on the bench. And they play Slater and Conforto and Haniger when he's in there and Yaz, and they all tell him, don't play at 100%. Don't run at 100%. Well, you guys are old and slow anyway, and now you're running at 70%. It's unbelievable.
We're focused a lot on Kapler and Farhan here, but ultimately it's Giants ownership. Do they have the balls to fire Farhan, who has made the money? That's all they seem to care about. Are they willing to go out on a limb and hire baseball men? I know the main owner is like up there in age. Maybe by chance he sells the team. I don't know, but it's up to ownership at the end of the day. They got to make the move.
Well, I think that's where Baby Buster has some say.
I hope so.
And if it's true that he is moving back to the Bay Area, it tells me he's going to have more of a voice what goes on in that front office. And I don't know, like you said, Larry, if he becomes more the front guy that is making the trades and making the negotiations with trying to get free agents, or if he brings in somebody like a Ned Colletti to run things. I think they need a complete overhaul. I really do. I think Farhan's best situated in somewhere behind the scenes.
He's a farm director. He's a farm director.
Helping run the farm director. He's pretty good at finding talent and getting those type of guys. I mean, I liked his draft this year. It was probably one of the top 2 drafts in all of Major League Baseball. So I think they got, 4 or 5, 6 really good guys. His draft in 20 was Casey Schmidt and Patrick Bailey. That was, and then he drafted Hunter Bishop, who's had a lot of injury problems, but guys are starting to come up.
Did Farhan make those picks? Was it a group effort? Was it?
Well, I'm sure it's always a group effort, but he's involved. You got to rely on your minor league scouts.
I just don't see Farhan as like I like the new GM of the Astros. He was a scout for a long time in the Braves organization. He recognized young talent and got him up, and he got the promotion that he did. I want to see the Giants hire their next GM to be a guy that has been a successful scout in the league for a long time, that understands and recognizes talent, whether it's veteran talent, knowing when they're on their last legs, or whether it's young talent. That's what they need at the GM.
What they need,
not an IT guy.
What they need is someone to verbalize a plan.
The mission.
If you're a Giants fan, what's the plan? You have no idea what the plan is. And then, like, when I was complaining that they didn't do anything at the deadline, people are like, well, it's a rebuilding year. Well, if it's a rebuilding year, why don't you sell off Alex Cobb then? If it's a rebuilding year, if it's a rebuilding year, sell off your one hot pitcher who has basically having a career year and get something for the future. But no, it can't be a rebuilding year because we don't rebuild.
We don't rebuild.
We don't rebuild. So you got all these They got these multiple different things, and everybody is so soft on them. You know, it's like I listen to the radio. It's like people are like, "Well, I'm not mad at them," and this and that. They need someone to get mad at them. You know what I mean? They need someone to say, "You know what? We're spinning our wheels here. We have no direction." Verbalize a plan for the fans so they can have an idea of where you're going. Instead, it's just like, well, you got the fans, you got all these people that were dialed in on the trade deadline expecting the Giants to do something. Why? Because Farhan said they were going to. Farhan said, we're going to be incredibly active. So he created that expectation. And then the disappointment at the trade deadline. I mean, there were radio guys who I was coming back from the Niners, and I'm listening to these guys, and they're like, I guarantee you, I know it's 5 minutes until the deadline, but I guarantee you Farhan's going to do something before the deadline. So there was like an expectation of the media that they were going to do something because Farhan talks such a big game.
Exactly.
He's a liar.
And then he didn't verbalize it to anybody that, hey, you know what? We're not going to actually do anything. We're, and then he doesn't verbalize, okay, we didn't do anything, but this is why we didn't do anything. It just plays like a law, like a gigantic loss, the same way that the Correa negotiations played, the same way that the Aaron Judge negotiations played. It comes across like the Giants just lost, like they're just SOL, out of luck, no plan, sitting there. And it's like, verbalize a plan. If you are in a rebuilding situation, then rebuild and sell off your mediocre Cobbs and Woods and whatever and see if you can get some prospects.
Exactly.
If you're in it, then say you're in it and say, hey, you know what? We're going to go for it. What does their attendance look like? That's what I would, because if they're, we know that they're pseudo in it, but not really, and they're probably going to wind up bitterly falling short again. You can just feel it in your bones. But what does their attendance look like? Because I think that might be the only language that the ownership speaks is attendance.
Well,
and it's like if the attendance is crap, maybe
specials. They're constantly having to do, specials to get people to the ballpark, 2-for-1s, this and that. 501 day, $5.01 for tickets anywhere on the upper
going
level
back to school.
Going back to this, that, school's starting here in a couple weeks, and then you're going to have the problem there from attracting people during the midweek games. Here's the other thing that just drives me crazy, guys, is the day after the trade deadline, Farhan's sitting in the dugout with the reporters, and they're talking to him about the lack of activity. And Farhan's, with his little nervous laugh every time he says something, he says, well, we could have, I guess we could have got a fifth starter, but we'd have had to, give up half our farm. And he's like, because it was such a seller's market. So, what's the natural, not one reporter said, well, then why didn't you sell one of your guys for half, your fifth starters for half of someone else's farm?
Everybody's got built-in excuses for why the Giants can do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever saying, nobody pivots and say, well, wait a second. If the market was such a seller's market, and if these mediocre starters were fetching an arm and a leg, why didn't you trade Alex Wood? Why didn't you trade Alex Cobb? Do you really think that you're in it? You're not beating anybody in the playoffs. Let's be realistic here. But instead, it's like, no, that's like argumentative and super negative.
If you're in it, why didn't you trade to get better? You can't hit.
Exactly.
You can't hit at all.
I mean,
that's the other thing. Everybody's talking about their two starters. Oh, they only have two starters. That's not the issue. The issue is that they are the lowest OPS team in all of baseball since the middle of June, and they haven't done a damn thing about it.
And it was just like that during the trade deadline. So they knew that it was a problem that they needed to solve.
Right.
And they didn't do nothing.
These same people that shit on rebuilds are basically the same type of person that'll tell a 33-year-old that is at a crossroads that's making barely minimum wage, keep doing what you're doing. No, I think I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to sacrifice for a year and I'm going to get really better. They're the types to say, nah, just keep going the way you're going and rebuild. Or I'm sorry, just be average and be mediocre. They don't get it. They don't understand taking a step back or two to go further ahead. They don't. It's just, that's how some people are, that's their DNA. You can't.
And they don't trust that the Giants fans are smart enough and sophisticated enough to buy into a rebuild like they did in 1986. And that was a resurgent year for the Giants in 1986.
Right.
Robbie Thompson, Will Clark, 87, they're winning the division. 89, they're winning the pennant. That same group in 93 is winning 103 games. They're, that same group largely was competing at the strike for a playoff spot in 94. But they don't seem to get it. It's like, no, you know what? Our fans will only, we can't say we're rebuilding. Your fans see Casey Schmidt, they see Luis Matos, they see Marco Luciano. They're buying into it. Stay the course.
That's Larry Baer that says that. Huh?
And if you think about it,
yeah.
He actually said that on the radio.
No confidence that the fans can grasp, understand, and appreciate a rebuild.
And Senior, he hits on something really important here. He goes, they already have rebuilt. You're seeing the young guys, but they're not plugging them in where they need to be plugged in. They're not playing them like they should. Put them out there.
Well,
Let
the resurgence, the whole resurgence started when they brought up Schmidt and Bailey.
Yes.
And they were the catalyst that helped them. The guys they've signed, Conforto, Peterson, Haniger, have contributed nothing to the offense.
AJ Pollock. Why not promote Elliot Ramos? Why not promote Wade Meckler?
Yes.
I don't need AJ Pollock, some 35-year-old perennially injured, vastly overpaid guy who's actually retired. He just hasn't filed the paperwork yet. It's ridiculous. And then this Matthias guy, Matthias is like the poster child for Farhan's entire regime.
Yes.
These minor league guys.
I think he was the guy in the deal that Farhan really wanted.
Really wanted.
And then I could hear DePito say, "Well, we'll give you Pollock if we we'll pay the salary for Pollock if you take him off our hands." And because how is Farhan compete? He's got Jerry DePito up in Seattle. He's got Chris Young down in Texas. You got Dombrowski in Philadelphia, Billy Epler in New York, AJ Preller down in San Diego, Friedman at the Dodgers. All these teams, Milwaukee's making deals. The Cubs are making deals. All these teams are aggressively going out trying to improve themselves while Farhan does absolutely nothing. And he's actually in the first position at the wild card at the trade deadline, and he still doesn't make any moves to improve his team. And last year, they were 5 games out, 4 or 5 near the trade deadline, and he does nothing hardly at all. He gets J.D. Davis, but he says, we got the horses to make a move, and everybody knew they didn't. And we all said they were done. And, of course, he ends up keeping Rodon, and he could have got probably a top 50 prospect last year. The Yankees would have overpaid to get Rodon because he was the missing piece that probably would have been able to get them last year to beat the Astros in a series.
So that falls into that same philosophy of never giving up, never waving a white flag. It's just we're always going to be competitive. We're always,
but they're not. That's the problem.
But they're not. That's the point. They're not. They want to give an illusion that they are.
Exactly.
And the real Giants fans, the ones that go to the games and watch the games, the candlestick fans, not the ones taking photos of themselves in the ballpark, the real Giants fans, they understand that. I think Larry Baer underestimates the intelligence of most Giants.
And you know what's crazy? You know what we're going to see next year? Next year, we're not going to see Ramos or Meckler out in the outfield. We're going to see Slater and Yaz again. You guarantee it. You watch. It's going to happen.
Well, and look at them. Who are the young, outside of Bailey, is there a young player that's intriguing that was brought here by Farhan? Logan Webb's pre-Farhan, Doval's pre-Farhan. Outside of Bailey, who do they got? What's he really done? So I don't know. It's, they do. It's ironic as hell that Kapler and Farhan have the winningest, single season in the history of Giants baseball. But that is very much looking like an aberration.
Yep.
I mean,
and I think Buster Posey had a big part of that one.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, look at some of these signings this year. I mean, you paid big money for Conforto. Conforto hit home runs since June.
Oh, good question.
Well, let me push back. Some people in the chat are kind of misunderstanding what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that people are not here are not Giants fans, but if you are truly a Giants fan, you want what's best for the team long term. You want what's best for the team and the young future players in this league. Conforto, Yaz, Slater, they're not part of our future. Stop hitching yourself to them. That is what I'm saying. So I'm not calling you out that you're not a Giants fan. Everybody's a Giants fan in their own different way. Me, Larry, the four of us, Dan and Eric, we're a little bit more old school in that we want the team to be good for a long time. We don't want quickies. We don't want a one-year thing. We want the team to be good for a while. And that's why, me personally, I'm so anal at getting young prospects and young talent in here to grow together and stop just treading water all the time. So I'm not calling you out. You be a Giants fans the way you are, but let us be a Giants fans the way we are. We think differently on that, respectfully.
I just want to see them actually produce, at the major league level. Once again, this entire team. I mean, all the young players that you want to see, Matos, Ramos, Luciano, these guys were not drafted by Farhan. They were not. Doval, not drafted by Farhan. I mean, Bailey was, but, and maybe they've got some young players on the verge here. Harrison was. And we'll see what it looks like. But I mean, it's a right now. I mean, you paid a ton for DeSclafani, a ton for Minaya, a ton for Stripling, a ton for Conforto, a ton for Jock Peterson. And what's that? What are those guys? Those guys aren't doing much.
What do you have to show for them?
You're muted, Dan.
Is it time to talk wrestling or 49ers football?
No, I think you're still muted, Dan.
Still muted?
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, this thing got messed up, the cord here. So, okay, I did this poll right before the trade deadline, 2 days before, July 29th, and it ran through July 31st. So it was right up to the deadline. And you talked about it, Larry, that the Giants fans are smart enough to know they can go through a rebuild. The question was, do you want the Giants to go all in and trade away good prospects for top players and try and win the World Series this year, or sell players that are not part of the future like Cobb, Jock, Conforto, Wood, Brebbia, and others? I mean, there's all kinds of players you could have traded, the Rogers brothers, others, to get top prospects back that are ready to play, meaning ready to play, next year in 24 and beyond, and follow the model like the Braves did in Houston and Baltimore's doing right now. So 16% out of 411 votes said try to win the World Series, but almost 50% said sell for a great future. 28.5% sell and buy, and 6.5% did do nothing. The team's good as the way it is. So
that proves my point. And that Larry Bear needs to see that. He needs to see that you're wrong, dude. Like, most Giants fans do want a future.
Yeah, they want a sustainable future.
Yes.
The Dodgers have been in the playoffs every year since 2013. This will be their 11th straight year in the playoffs, and 10 out of 11 of winning the National League West. Only time they didn't was in 21 when they won 106 games. So,
and here's the bottom line too. The Dodgers, I mean, let's try to understand this. This is real basic, okay? Real basic. The Dodgers produce more revenue than the Giants, okay? But they also are spending a higher percentage of that revenue on player payroll. Now, you don't have to produce the same revenue that they produce. The Giants produce, let's say, $400 million in total revenue. The Giants are spending, though, 5% less of their revenue, which is than the Dodgers spend. You don't have to spend what they spend, but you should be spending the same percentage of your revenue that they're spending of their revenue, especially since their revenue is greater than yours. So the Dodgers are spending like 52% of their revenue on player payroll. The Giants are spending like 47% of their payroll, of their revenue on player payroll. It's okay to have less revenue, but it's not okay to spend a lower percentage. You might as well just say you're working at a disadvantage. And the Giants are. They're working at a consistent disadvantage. And one of the lectures or things that was said to Giants fans in the final years of Candlestick was wait until we have the new ballpark. Wait until we have the kind of revenue streams that the Dodgers have. Then we will be a team like the Dodgers. Okay, well, the park opened. That never happened. Now the Giants have paid off the mortgage. Now they're literally in probably the best financial situation, cash-wise, of probably any team in the entire big leagues. Mm-hmm. The Giants own their own ballpark. They own a lot of the real estate on the eastern waterfront, all the way down, south of the ballpark. They've got more money than they know what to do with, but they can't figure out how to win and how to compete with the Dodgers. It's like, go get the better scouts, pay them handsomely, go start competing in the farm system. I mean, for years I was bitching about the Giants need to invest in the farm system, and there people were like, prospects are prospects, and you never know. It's like, no, you idiots. Prospects are what they call capital in baseball. Mm-hmm. You can't do anything in baseball without prospects. There's only 3 ways to attract players. You can develop your own, you can trade for them, or you can sign them as free agents. Well, developing your own is having an eye for prospects. Trading for talent requires what? Prospects. So prospects really are 2/3 of the 3 options available to acquire talent. So unless you're going to overpay in free agency, and they don't want to. Farhan's like, I don't want to overpay. I'll look bad. I mean, you heard him at the deadline. He's like, I had to call the ownership and remind them that I wasn't about to trade for Justin Verlander in his bloated contract. That's your big concern, is telling some ridiculously rich owner who's already made whatever he invested in the club tenfold already back. And the only thing you can assure him is that you're not going to acquire a player that's going to cost him cash. The one thing that they have in abundance is cash.
Right. And then New York ends up paying most of it.
Right. I mean, he was perfectly clear. Like, I want to make sure that there's rumors. Like, he was asked about rumors, and he's like, well, I had to make sure that the owners knew that I wasn't about to acquire players that would take on X number of payroll dollars. It's like, bro, that's all you have right now is money. You don't have prospects to trade. You don't have guys at the major league level that anybody wants in a trade that you're willing to move. All you have is money. And yet the Giants, who have money to burn, don't show any interest in using their money as an avenue to get players. So if you're not going to use your financial advantage, then you better sure as hell develop prospects, because prospects are capital in the trade market. So that's 2/3 of how to get better. And you strike out worse than Yaz and June in the free agent market on a regular basis. So you know what? Since you can't sign free agents, you better start developing prospects, or it's game over.
Yeah. And Larry, what do you think the problem is with the Giants have like 34 people in their ownership group. Now, there's probably, I know Charles Johnson, and he's the majority owner. I don't know how many owners have much stake in it, whether it's made up primarily of 3 or 4 different guys that have the largest stakes. But do you think the problem is the Giants had $75 million profit last year? Do you think that the problem is that some of these owners may be wanting their investments rather than waiting for the team to be sold for them to make money? They want to make, let's say they've got 3% ownership. So the team makes a $75 million profit,
They get a nice
And
check.
they get a $3 million, check or $2 million check for the year to supplement their, portfolios or their income, whatever.
I mean,
You
first of
think-
all, they're enormously wealthy people. Enormously wealthy people don't get that way by accident. They get that way because they like seeing a profit. But ultimately, you didn't make your money on Giants baseball. You made your money. I mean, sports franchises used to be, toys for the wealthy sportsmen in the world. And now they're the people who own these teams are more like businessmen, and they're not sportsmen, and they don't want to cash call. They don't want to cut a check, even though they've got more money than God. And the people who the sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters of the Giants ownership group will be among the wealthiest people in the history of the city of San Francisco. But that's not enough. That they would like to. Here's the bottom line. Everybody wants to win, but who's committed to winning? The Giants ownership group would rather win than lose, but they're really more committed to getting a nice check every year.
Yeah.
Right. And then they've got that, what's it called out there?
Mission Rock.
I
mean, also you got gambling, the new gambling, that's a revenue stream that's brand new and massive. And you've got a ballpark that's paid off. Every single person that walks through the turnstiles, pure profit, 100% profit. They have no mortgage. Have you ever seen somebody who's walking around that has no mortgage? It's like life is kind to them because they've got nothing but opportunities. They can borrow against their property. They've got money for days. They're not worried about paying a monthly deal. They don't have a monthly deal. The Giants don't either. That stadium is paid off. So you would think after a number of years of cashing checks and losing, and after experiencing 3 World Series years, that they would be a little bit more passionate about getting into the playoffs again in the World Series. Not to mention that the value of the franchise goes up exponentially when the team goes to the World Series. I mean, just look at the numbers. You can research it yourself. It's all there for you. So I don't know. I mean, I know fans always say spend, spend, spend. I'm not yelling spend, spend, spend. I'm saying be smart. Have a game plan. Verbalize a game plan to your fans so they have a pretty good idea of where you're at. Instead, the Giants fans are in total limbo, and it's just like, hey, trust us. And then it's a series of mediocre moves and, running in place kinds of moves and AJ Pollock and, just stuff like that. It's just like, what? Look how many people were engaged on the Giant trade deadline compared and all the hours you guys spent talking about it. I'm just glad that I didn't, because I would have felt like a total jackass if I spent hours and hours and hours talking Tim Anderson and this guy and that guy and this guy. I mean, I did a little bit of it, but I mean, I would have felt so silly after watching them do nothing, absolutely nothing, especially when every one of their competitors did something significant.
Yeah, exactly. They just sat and did nothing. It's just frustrating because, it doesn't really take a lot for this organization. As you mentioned, Larry, their ballpark's paid for. It would just take a couple of moves to change the structure and the face of the franchise to go more old school, and then be aggressive. Get somebody in here that is a Dave Dombrowski type or a AJ Preller or a guy that really is aggressive and is in on everything that's going on around baseball, that knows.
And also don't limit yourself so much. The Giants, once again, at the trade deadline, they limit themselves to either a strict buy, or a strict sell. Hey, you are in a rebuilding year. Use the trade deadline as a way to build another piece to the puzzle.
Exactly.
If you could turn Alex Cobb and something else into a foundation piece, second baseman, a foundation piece, outfielder, a couple of foundation pieces in your rotation, but that are younger, and you move Cobb to a contender, the Giants fans weren't going to go nuts, crazy. Oh my God, I can't believe you moved. The Giants fans have no relationship at all with Alex Cobb. But I think Farhan's so afraid of Stank Guy in his own clubhouse. He's so afraid of the message it may send the players, that the players may look at him cross-eyed, that they just wasted. They wasted Bumgarner. They wasted Rodon. They wasted Cobb. The Giants 3 years in a row have had a healthy starting pitcher that would have fetched something significant at the deadline. And all 3 times they have bypassed that opportunity. Don't tell me that's good business. That's not good business.
Nope.
Good business is not being fearful like that.
Hey, we've got how many's in that in the chat? Is it 126?
We got 136 in the chat.
Everybody hit that like button right now. Hit the like button. And those who haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe. We are here every night after the Giants ball game, or afternoon if they play a day game. We do a post-game show. So just hit that like and subscribe. Yeah, we get a little bit. Some people accuse our channel, calling us critical, overly critical. We're not real Giants fans. No, we're not Giant homers, okay? We're not paid by the Giants. We're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. When the Giants are playing well and Kapler's making good decisions and Farhan's done, hey, we gave him praise up and down for the draft. We said when the Giants were winning and they were playing good baseball, Kapler was playing situational baseball for the first time. Saw him bunt twice, runners home to get runners home.
If this is striking you as off-putting, it's just because so many people in the Giants media circle are there buttering their collective muffin every single day, that any kind of honesty comes across as like massive negativity. The 4 guys on this stream probably have more passion for Giants baseball than all of these people combined. You know, there's people walking around who, you know, are sitting there kissing the Giants' butt left and right, but they were in Minneapolis 3 years ago, and they were in Florida 5 years ago, and their team is the Kansas City Royals, and they don't really give a damn either way. The reason we're getting exercised about this is because we are Giants fans, and we actually give a damn about this, and we're invested. So, I mean, I always have people, oh, dude, you're only jumping in on the Giants to say negative stuff. No, I'm jumping in on the Giants to say the truth, and if that happens to be negative, then so be it. And if it happens to be positive, then I'm there for that as well. But I'm not here to butter people's muffin, and I'm not here for the free hot dog, and I'm not here to make sure that Farhan doesn't give me Stank Guy. I could give a damn. I really don't care about his Stank Guy. I really don't care about Gabe's Stank Guy. I don't care if they like me. I don't need them to like me. I got a family. I got kids. I got friends. I don't need them as friends or as I don't need them to pat me on the back and say, way to go, Krug. Come on in, have the buffet with us. I don't need that. But what I need them to do is I need them to run the team with the same kind of passion and focus and intensity that their fans carry with them on a daily basis.
Yep. Be competitive.
The Giants
act like you want to be competitive. Don't act like you're just trying to win deals. Be competitive. Be a baseball team, for crying out loud.
The Giants are like our kids. We're going to pat them on the back. We're going to root them on and cheer them on when they do well. But when they get out of line and they cut class or they do some stupid shit, we're going to be in their ass. That's just the way it is.
If they miss the playoffs, who's going to chew them? Who exactly in the Bay Area media is going to chew them?
Nobody.
If they miss the playoffs. And they did absolutely nothing at the deadline. They were literally leading the wild card race at the deadline, and they're going to fall short of the playoffs. And who's going to chew on them at the end of the year? Nobody.
This is what it will be.
Larry, you've been
real quick, Dan. This ties into what Larry is saying, and we missed this super chat.
Yeah,
he says, "I'm calling it right now. They will fall out, and Farhan will spin it due to injuries. We all know this is coming." That's what.
Yeah, they'll spin it. They'll spin it. We were the most injured team. Yeah, then why don't you go out and get some healthy players?
Yeah. Thank you.
The guy that you picked up was injured.
Exactly.
Larry, you've been around in the media for 20 plus years, 25 years in the Bay Area. What Giants reporter who's been the harshest critic of the Giants since the mid 80s? Has anybody taken shots? Because I look at this current crop of reporters. NBC Sports Bay Area is basically aren't the Giants part ownership of that?
I mean, they might as well be in the tunnel. You know what I mean? They may as well be right there next to the dugout. Nobody's there going to rip. I mean, Ralph Barbieri.
I was going to say.
Myself. That's it.
Lowell Cohn is critical of the Niners. Was he critical of the Giants?
Oh,
I'm trying to think if anybody's
the guy
really
who did Sports Fun. How come I can't remember his name? Ray Woodson. He kind of was a bit critical from him.
I would definitely say Ralph and myself.
Yeah.
Salty was critical of the Giants, but he wasn't part of the media. Salty from Clovis. Missed that guy. Rest in peace, Salty.
What about?
Let me talk to Sabian.
Hey, Larry. Literally like one of my favorite callers of all time. It just absolutely.
I'm the one who gave him that nickname. He was calling up. His name was Baltimore Dave. Dave.
I remember Baltimore Dave for years.
It was Baltimore Dave. And then finally he was just ripping. And I go, hey, Salty Balty. And then from then on, the call screener put up every time he called in on Sports Phone, Salty Balty. Then he started just going by Salty. And it's funny. And I ran into him at the Giant Fan Fest a couple of years, and I was expecting him to be like a maniac, like some guy was like super, and he's like this totally nice, normal guy with a family and a kid. And he was totally calm, and he's like, thanks, Krug. Thanks for giving me the Salty Balty nickname. I'm like, oh no, I love it, man. It's awesome.
But he was right to call him out when he did.
He did. Yeah, he called him out.
Yeah, I mean, with this regime, Larry, you've been around in media circles. How long? This is the 5th year of the Farhan and the 4th year of Gabe. How long would this regime have survived in Philadelphia and New York?
Wow, great question.
Well, how long did Kapler survive in Philly? 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Yeah,
they don't tolerate that. They don't tolerate that.
I mean, did you ever hear the comment? Did we tell you I think we read it to you about his quote when he started at the Phillies. He said, "We're the shade and we're the soil. Players of the soil. We're the shade and the water and the sun." All this analogy, and I mean, he's reading this and he's saying this in Philadelphia, and these people are like ready to run him out.
Go tan your nuts, you clown.
Yeah, I mean, we're the soil.
He did.
Hey, who's the cheesesteak? I just want to know who the cheesesteak is.
Go tan your nuts.
Well, he said he did that.
Coconut oil. Yeah.
Oh man, dude.
Whatever, man.
NorCal Sports Network. Go tan your nuts.
I think Kapler's pretty smart. I just don't like him. I'll fully admit it's not personal or anything. I just don't like him. I don't think he's a cool guy. I just think he's kind of strange, and it's just and I saw that interaction with John Shea in the dugout in March.
Man, that was crazy.
That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. This guy was getting exercised about a question about Mitch Haniger's oblique pull, and did he pull it in Scottsdale versus talking stick? And he was like 9 questions back and forth, and everybody's super nervous. And I can just tell by the way everybody soft pedals everything around him. Everybody's super nervous. Like they probably feel like he's going to somehow damage them somehow if they don't totally kiss butt. But it's amazing. It's like some of these beat writers act like they are drawing a check from the team. Yeah. Like it's their job to front the team. And this is not a new development. I've seen this for years. I mean, it's like, dude, do you realize that most of these guys wouldn't walk across the clubhouse to spit on you, and you're going to defend them like it's your team? They don't care. You're not. I mean, it's just like it's unbelievable. But yeah. That's I don't know why, but that's the way it always shook out.
If any of us were to talk to Posey off camera, just casual conversation, and we were to ask him about Kapler playing for him, I'm sure the 4 of us would have a pretty good idea about what he would say. And now, if he is in fact going to be in a position of power, he's going to be able to do something that he could not do as a player. Is that fair to say?
That's fair.
I don't know, because when I interviewed Posey and I asked him about Kapler. Now, granted, it was on KMBR for everybody to hear.
Exactly. On KMBR.
But he was like, hey, what I liked about Kapler's approach and the coaching staff's approach is that it wasn't a one-size-fits-all approach, that they actually would take what, were key things that I needed to work on and I needed to focus on. And, so there are some players that really saw value in Farhan or in Gabe's coaching staff and Gabe's approach. Brandon Crawford told me that he felt like the data and the information that they were getting as players about how to win the game and maybe positioning and fielding and that kind of thing was superior to the information he was getting from the previous regime. So I think there's been some real positives from this regime. I didn't do 25 years of Bay Area media because I'm unfair to people. I'm fair, but I just think that the trade-off is been like, nobody has verbalized to the fans what the plan is, and that's why the attendance sucks. Why is the attendance falling through the floorboards? It's not because the team's not good. There have been many teams throughout my Giants fandom lifetime that were worse, and there were periods of time where the organization had way worse farm system than what it has right now. But nobody is taking the lead. Nobody is verbalizing to the fans, this is where we're at. This is where we expect to be. This is where we're at right now. This is where we were, where we expect to be in a year, where we expect none of it. And so the fans are just there with no, I don't know. I'm not sure. Are they going to be in it? Are they not going to be in it? And so their off-season advanced ticket sales, I guarantee you, are atrocious because nobody can verbalize any kind of a game plan. Nobody can get anybody excited for spring training. I mean, the Giants spring training, there was all kinds of empty seats at Scottsdale Stadium in March. There was no super excitement for the season. It was like, oh, we struck out on Correa. We struck out on Judge. It was this big
Bellinger. I still can't believe Larry,
you got to sell it. You got to know sales. You have to have somebody who will sell your program.
The San Diego at the Hyatt during the winter baseball meetings. Gabe Kapler's up on the MLB set, and he's talking. I'm sitting there just listening to it, talking about Cody Bellinger, how high they are in Bellinger, and how much they'd like to really land Bellinger in free agency. He gets off the set, and within an hour, it's announced that Bellinger's signing with the Cubs. And then I find out, Cody Bellinger said he wanted a one-year deal. His agent, Scott Boras, said he doesn't want a long-term deal because he wanted to prove himself and he wants that $200 million 7-year deal. Okay? That's what Cody Bellinger is playing for this year. You could have signed Cody Bellinger. He signed for $18 million. You signed Jock for $19.5. Why wouldn't you just give Bellinger $25 million? And just it's 1 year. You're talking 5. You've blown money on La Stella. You've blown money on guys like Haniger and DeSclafani. You gave DeSclafani $12 million for 3 years, $36 million.
Stripling the same. Manaea.
Stripling and Manaea. And you let Stripling and Manaea walk, and you paid. You let
Bellinger,
not Bellinger, but you let Gausman walk for $22 million a year, and you're paying more for Stripling and Manaea, and you could have had a rotation of Webb and Gausman and Cobb. And your problem now, you're a playoff team. One guy makes that much of a difference.
Bad
in your
money
rotation.
decision.
But you're going out and you're signing guys that are nobody else really wants to sign, and then you have to give them an opt-out. So Stripling and Manaea, you'll be fortunate if they opt out, and you can get them off your books. But if they come back next year, I think they may opt out just simply because they want to be starting pitchers. And they might think, well, I'm getting $12.5 million. Maybe I can go sign a 2-year deal for 20. Maybe I get that extra year and I get that year of security, but I'm signed as a starter. I don't know. I don't.
How about a game plan too? I mean, you had a Aroldis Chapman out there. You easily could have signed a Aroldis Chapman.
Yep.
You would have had Chapman in the 8th, Doval in the 9th. That would have been a double-barrel closer. And then you could have traded off of Chapman. You knew he was going to be a coveted arm at the deadline, and you let him go to Kansas City. I mean, come on. You couldn't sign a Aroldis Chapman or sign a. I mean. It's where the Giants are this year. They were in a rebuilding year, right? So sign 2 or 3 free agents that you think you could trade at the deadline and then trade them at the deadline. Instead, no, more spinning wheels, bad contracts, wasted money, no trades at the deadline, no acceleration of the rebuild. You're just sitting there missing opportunities. It's like, think of a game plan and exercise it. Instead, I don't see a game plan. I don't. I see a series of moves, and that's it.
On one tiny positive note, they did sign Logan Webb to a very, very fair deal. $18 million for 5.
Well, they just bought out his arbs. That's pretty much what it was.
But I've been preaching that.
Yeah.
Do what the Braves do. Do what they did
with
Julio. Like right now, they could give Duvall maybe a long-term deal. Maybe even stretching it. Maybe Bailey. Get them while they're still in their rookie contract for a long period of time while they're young. But that's not what the Giants will do. So that's smart financing.
Hopefully they'll learn because
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't.
Not with this regime.
I don't understand. So. The platooning stuff has got to change. You've got to get your top 5, 6 players in the lineup in the same position every day. Okay,
that's what all the top teams are doing.
All the top teams, you look at their first 5 guys. Yep. It doesn't really change whether it's a lefty or a righty. They put the same guys in. It's the bottom of the order that gets a little changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the Giants have even their top guys that they play every day, Matos and Davis and Estrada, they're in different spots in the order almost every game.
Yes, every game it's different.
It's just like, there's just guys, I personally.
Nobody more than baseball players are creatures of habit.
Yeah, I personally.
No players need to be in the same position, knowing what their role is, than baseball players.
I personally would bring up
like they are right now. That's tough.
I would have traded J.D. Davis this year, and I would have put, got a decent prospect for him. I would have put Schmidt at third, Luciano shortstop, Estrada second. Wade, Flores, rotate him at first. Next year, maybe you go after Reese Hoskins. He's a free agent. He's from Sacramento area. He's got power. But he probably, if he finds out that he's likely to be platooned, he's probably not going to want to come.
He ain't going to want to come.
Because I'll bet you that the deal with Bellinger was over platooning. I bet he was not promised when Boros asked, is he going to be a starter and play every day except for occasional rest days? And I bet you they told him, we can't promise you that. So the fact is that he probably is like, you know what? I want to go where I can play every day and build up my value.
But no, they'll pay $19 million to Jock Peterson, who's trying to impersonate the Panda more than knocking homers out.
It will take a new regime to come off of Wade, Slater, Yaz, Jock. If it's the same guys next year, expect them all.
Do you know Conforto's had 13 homers since the early June 13th is the last. We're August 12th going on tomorrow.
We're almost 2 months since he's hit a home run.
Yeah.
2 months.
That's ridiculous.
Sounds like an opt-in.
It sounds like an opt-in.
Sounds like an opt-in.
And what does that do? That blocks your prospects
Young
like
guy.
Wade Meckler,
Meckler won't be able to come up.
Meckler, Ramos.
Wanna
Just
see
give me an
Meckler.
outfield next year of Ramos in left, or Meckler in left, Matos in center,
and
Ramos in right. He's got the better arm.
Yep.
And then give me Von Brown coming up, and give me those four
Grady
guys
McRae.
in the outfield. What's that?
Grady McRae.
Well, it's got to be a free agent out there they can sign too. I mean, I haven't searched the free agent
You're probably
market.
stuck with Haniger because you got 2 more years, and
Yeah.
this year was the year that you paid him nothing, like $5 million this year. But the next 2 years,
What did he tell them? He was going to give them nothing, so they said, "Well, we'll pay you nothing." I'm not going to contribute jack this year. Oh, cool. We'll backload it. I mean, it's unbelievable, really.
Larry,
I mean,
you and Dan know Ned a little bit. If he were to come over like Farhan from the Dodger organization, my guess that he would maybe do a little bit different, and he would maybe raise the Dodgers because he knows who their best scouts are. Do you think, what would he do different than Farhan as far as like taking advantage of some of the things the Dodgers really do well?
well, I mean, a couple things. One, that he would verbalize to the clubhouse and to the fan base that who's in charge, all right, and what the plan is. He wouldn't just be like, I'm just not going to verbalize a plan for fear of failure. He would verbalize a plan to the fan base. This is where we're at. This is where we hope to be. Then I think the one thing Ned would do is he'd canvass the free agent market and get a real handle by talking directly to the agents of who has real interest in being here and who doesn't. He would not get led around by the nose by the biggest free agent in the market, only to be left at the altar in the 11th hour and disappoint the fan base. He would quickly figure out if Ohtani had sincere interest in being here, and he would hammer out some parameters, and he would only be in the mix to the end if he had a viable chance of landing him. He wouldn't just be led around by the nose with no real idea one way or another. He wouldn't put the Giants fans nor the organization through another one of these, bridesmaids deals. As far as, what he would do, I think he would probably try to attract a couple free agents that he felt like could help them at the major league level, but he would continue building up the farm system.
And I think that's a really strong point you made early in the show about salesmanship and how it's not talked about enough, because we can look at John Lynch, we can look at Bob Myers, 2 GMs that have strong sales skills, have strong people skills, and you see they bring people to those organizations, and Farhan just does not seemingly have those skills. So the next GM is going to have that to have a chance to attract players to come here.
Hey,
Ned gets deals. Sorry to interrupt you, Eric, but Ned gets deals. Ned gets certain guys to take a little bit less.
Yeah.
When was the last time the Giants got somebody to take a little less? Giants are constantly paying at the top of the scale.
Yeah, listen to what they pay Haniger. This year, he signed for 3 years, $43 million. This year, he was only getting paid $8 million. Next year, he gets $20 million next year and $15 million in 25
for a broken down player.
Yeah, so
that everybody knew was broken down.
I bet when Jock's agent called him and said, "Hey, the Giants are offering you $19 million for a year," I bet he spit his drink out. I bet he was expecting to get about 10 or 12 at best for a guy that.
Well, he got 6 last year. He got 6 last year. So they
maybe double the salary.
That was a desperate move by a desperate team.
Well, I'll tell you what it was.
That's the other thing. I mean, Farhan made that move. Everybody in the industry reads that as, oh, the Giants are desperate.
Yep.
And then you're going to try then in a market where you've already announced your desperation to go. You really think you're going to land Aaron Judge over the Yankees in a market where you've announced to everybody up front that you're super desperate? My God, there was no chance in hell. It was so obvious that Judge was using the Giants to drive up the price. And then when it's sad. I mean, really, the best thing that happened to the Giants was Correa, them backing out of the Correa deal.
Right,
yeah.
right. because with the thing with
which is another
Jock,
nightmare PR move.
The Jock deal was awful because what he wanted, what Farhan was basically saying was, I don't want you testing free agency because I know we won't win, and you'll take anything.
Wilmer Flores is a better hitter than him right now.
Yep, that's sad.
$6
A bench player. A bench player is the best hitter on the team.
Wilmer Flores might be Farhan's best move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's only he's got 2 more years, and he's very reasonable. He's like $6 million a year.
Professional.
I mean,
baseball player.
Wilmer is he's a guy that you probably could have fetched quite a bit for this year, just simply because he's under control for 2 more years at low salary. Mm-hmm. Imagine a playoff team wanting to get a guy like Wilmer Flores who could DH.
Yeah.
The hardest guys the Giants would have right now to divest themselves of are the guys that Farhan signed.
Yep. He signed. You can't get rid of Haniger now. $20 million next year.
Haniger, Stripling, Minaya. I mean, nobody wants those guys at the price tags they're at. No way.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's very unimpressive tandem so far, in my opinion.
And to go back to you guys talking about the communication, matter of fact, when Ned was on the show, last week, I specifically asked him, how important is it for a GM to possess proper communication skills to be able to get out the message, not only to your team and what you want as a team, but to the fan base, because that's important to have that fan base behind you. Because once you lose the fan base, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. And he alluded to that. He always had a really good relationship with, whether it's the media and now with the social media platform. So
why do you think he came on with me all those nights on Sports Phone 680? It's because he knew I was the voice of the fan. He knew I was talking directly to the drive home crowd, and he saw the value in speaking directly to them. And he was like, hey, Krug, you ask me any question you want to ask me. You ask me the toughest questions you got every single night, and I'll give you the best answer I got. And that was our relationship. I'm going to ask you tough questions. You're going to give me the best answer you got. And we're going to take that answer. We're not going to try to parse it or throw it back in your lap or double back around and try to embarrass you. I'm not going to sit there and try to ask the question a second way, a third way, a fourth way to try to get you twisted into some pretzel. No, I'm going to ask a tough-ass question that the fans want to know the answer to, and you give me the best answer you got. And so what happened was he came on. I asked him tough questions. He gave us straight answers. People were like, you know what? That Ned Coletti guy, that guy's something, man. That guy's a straight shooter. And, he doesn't always tell Larry what I want to hear, but, he always comes on and he's honest and he's forthright. And Sabian never pushed back on Ned and was like, don't go on there, because Sabian didn't want to do it. Sabian didn't want to do those interviews, but he knew Ned had the ability to verbalize the Giants' position, their game, their thought process, that he was smart enough to know what not to say. I never asked him to bury guys on the team publicly. I never put him in that bad a position. It wasn't like I went on there and said, hey, this guy sucks. I would try to ask it diplomatically. He would give me a diplomatic answer. Sometimes his answers were the kinds of things that might upset a player, but they were always truthful. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, I'd say, Ned, how do you always remember what you say? And he's like, because I always tell the truth. And if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said, because you know what the truth is.
Right.
So, we had a very good relationship, and he verbalized all throughout the 1990s, 97, 98, 99, 2000, going into the next 2001, 2002, some of these real successful Giant seasons. He verbalized where they were at, what was doable, what was not doable. He didn't always love the questions I asked him. There were times where he'd be like, I sure wish you didn't ask me about that, but I respect the hell out of you for asking. And we just, carved out a good relationship. And I think the Giants, drew incredibly well in that era, because their fans knew where Brian and Ned stood. They knew they didn't wonder at the deadline. Well, they seem like they're saying this, but they're doing that. No, he was on. He came on regularly. I asked him tough questions. He gave me straight answers. If he couldn't answer it, he would say, I really can't answer that, or I don't want to answer that, or whatever. I mean, you see it. You guys have him on. You can see the way Ned is. You ask him a question. He's not going to give you an answer for sure. But if he's not going to give you an answer, he's going to tell you. He's not going to bullshit you.
Right.
He's either going to say, "I'm not going to answer that, and here's why," or I don't want to answer that. Here's why. But this is what I can tell you, Lair. Stuff like that. And I know the players appreciated it. I talked to many players in the late 90s and early 2000s. They'll be like, dude, I always listen to the post-game show because I know you're going to have him on, and I want to hear what he has to say. And so these are players on the team in 2000, 2001, 2002. These teams that team went to the World Series in 2002. They won 100 games in 2003. So anyway.
You'd have four real happy guys if he did get that gig. I'm curious, do you think if it did happen, Ned goes for a seasoned veteran manager, or would he take a chance on a young up and coming guy?
That's a good question. I think it's a young man's game at this point. But I mean, he's had older guys, but I mean, like, I think there would be, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but I think you'd probably go with the younger guy. I think he just understands how long those hours are.
I would kind of hope he would not go the Joe Madden route or something like that. I would want kind of a younger up and coming.
That's very interesting what Lou is saying. He says he's a season ticket holder. Giants sent me an email to me say I have till September 3rd to renew for next year or I lose my rights.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
Isn't
gun
that
to the head.
To the off-season?
September 3rd. That's really early. This year they gave us until like February.
Something tells me if Lou called him on September 4th, he'd still have those rights.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous, though.
Probably a little later.
How about Rocky in Connecticut here? Krug should stick to debating quarterbacks. His baseball knowledge is based on one guy, and he's bitter that the game has passed him by.
What?
Thanks, Rocky. Yeah. You got me pegged.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, Larry's younger than us, so he's passed him by. He's definitely passed me and Dan by, I guess. So put us in that equation.
Yeah.
Let us know your baseball knowledge there, Rocky, and say hi to Apollo for us.
Yeah. And Rocky, he's got tons going on because it's almost 3:00 in the morning and he's watching YouTube in California.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I would think, manager wise out there, there's guys that are still hanging around that are still in that old school guys that, you see Buck Showalters and you see the Melvins and the Terry Franconas, guys that are still relatively, active, getting it done, Boch. But the guys that seem to really attract the better players that really like these older managers are guys that have been around. I don't know. I mean, I really think Ron Rodas would be great for the club. He's been around the club. He knows the club. He's there on a regular basis. He's down there at spring training. He went for the job when Boch left, and Farhan basically had Kapler in his, wanted Kapler the whole time. And
Danny, do you remember who tried to get that job other than him?
I don't know. Was Mark Kotze in there too?
Who was that for manager?
It was a guy named Espada.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
From Houston, I believe. Yeah. I know that Sabes was probably, if he had stayed around, was probably going to name David Bell.
Oh, wow.
And Lou Marston here says the Giants never should have let David Bell leave. Huge loss. Yeah. Now David Bell is one of the best managers in the big leagues,
and he just got extended.
Yeah, I mean the Giants, they need somebody that's has more of the Giants' history of their winning years. I mean, Wotus is still relatively young. He's about 60.
I just think you need a manager that's a likable face.
Yeah,
Mark DeRosa is the name that's come up.
I think Stephen Vogt would be a great Giant
Stephen
manager.
Stephen
Vogt would
Vogt?
be great. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
Stephen Vogt.
likable guy, very positive guy. Not
Catcher
not one of these
Joe.
guys that's all nervous, looking over his shoulder at all times. I'm fine with Farhan because I think Farhan is a good personnel guy. But
the problem I see,
I
Larry,
need more life out of the dugout. I need more enthusiasm. I find it very hard to root for Gabe Kapler.
well, the problem I see with Farhan is his position over the entire baseball operations. Is that I believe a lot of the decisions that are being made on the field are made with Farhan and the analytics group prior to the game. It's kind of what Buster said in the comments earlier I read
About
is
the binder.
that the binder that the games are planned pre the
No
games.
intuition.
Yeah, and just learning that intuition. And is Farhan have that much control, or if he did bring in someone else like a Vogt or someone along those lines, would Farhan just let him do his thing? Because that's the problem, and I don't think so. I think Farhan needs to be moved off of baseball operations and have a role as over minor league development. Make him, heck, if you want to keep Kapler and Farhan, that's what they used to do. Farhan was the minor league director of the Dodgers. I mean, not Farhan, but Kapler. Kapler was the minor league director of the Dodgers, and Farhan was just in the Pete Petulia position. He wasn't
couple of chats here that make me laugh. FPS says, Larry, wish you put out more of San Francisco Giants analysis clips. You give the most honest analysis out there. Thank you very much, FPS. I appreciate you. And then Lou Marston, my good buddy, lifelong friend, says, Larry, how about Greg Sinclair? He's feisty. Greg Sinclair, of course, was our PE teacher at Stewart Hall.
Good old Stewart Hall.
We're going back to literally 1975, but yes, Lou. I love Greg Sinclair. He was one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorites.
You want feisty, hire Hunter Pence. It doesn't get any feistier than that.
I don't know about that, but we'll go. Well, Liam, he was at the game today. He traveled all the way from the UK to go watch this game.
Hey, pretty exciting, huh? 3 hits, Liam.
Liam, you brought your soccer offense to the States, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think it was already here before you got here.
No, I
Seriously.
know. Liam's a good dude.
Yeah, Liam's good.
Man.
Guys, I've got 9 a.m. live stream tomorrow talking football, so I got a jet.
Hey, give us a quick, just a real quick synopsis of what you saw. Or, I know there's a lot of stuff online about Purdy having some interception issues, and then Lance looking good but missing some of the layups, and Darnold. It looks like Allen is kind of being faded out, as doesn't look like he's getting much reps.
Well, it's a weird situation because on one hand, Brock Purdy obviously had a great year last year off the bench, and now he had the elbow surgery. And is he diminished? Is he not? To my eyes, he looks about the same, but he says he's working his way back as far as volume of throws and velocity on the ball and accuracy and everything else. So he's a little bit of a work in progress. You also have people just dramatically overreacting to interceptions in a practice. We're talking about a practice. We're not even talking about preseason. Right. We're talking about a practice. Right. And then you have Trey Lance, who's definitely improved from last year, like significantly improved. And to me, he looks really, really good. Sam Darnold is here, but I think Trey Lance has outplayed Sam Darnold. Brandon Allen is either going to be the Niners' third string quarterback or he's going to be on somebody else's team. And there's just what's really bizarre about this is that, Steve Mariucci had Kyle Shanahan on the NFL Network, and he does an interview with Rich Eisen the next day, and Eisen's saying, well, what do you know about the Niners quarterback situation? And he's like, well, in my opinion, if Lance has a good preseason, they'll trade him. There'll be teams that want to trade for him, and the Giants will trade him. Then you have Mike Florio saying that the Niners made a huge mistake by drafting Trey Lance and that they need to part ways with him. And he says it with all this, he's like so sure of himself. I don't know that he's watching Lance like I am. The Lance that I'm seeing is improving dramatically. I would be more fearful of trading Lance than of because I think he's a franchise quarterback. I just think it's going to take time.
Well, he's got the highest ceiling in the camp.
He's got a high ceiling. He's got great talent. He's a great kid. He works hard. There's no reason. To trade him.
Larry, I put this out.
But he is going to make a lot of money next year, and they may want to recommit to Brock Purdy.
I put this out in a comment because Purdy's only got a 4-year deal. So in essence, they've got about the same control over each quarterback, although Purdy's much, much cheaper being a 7th round pick. Why not go into the season with Brock and Trey and Darnold or Allen, make him the 3rd guy and trade Darnold if you can get a draft pick, but have Trey as the 2nd stringer. And if Brock, for some reason, is struggling in any reason or gets hurt, then you got a chance to see what Trey could do. But if Trey, it turns out to starts getting reps and is effective, you have 2 more years after this year of control. And then if he does really well,
but it's not about control. It's about the dollar figure. He's going to be making, I believe, like somewhere like 14 to 17 or something like that next year. And they're not going to keep a backup quarterback making 14 to 17 million. So
that's why I say, what if you kept him for the 1st September? Injuries happen all the time. Then
there's always that possibility, but there's also, there might be teams that, I personally think, Danny, that he's going to have a really good preseason. Starting Sunday, I think you're going to see. I think Trey Lance, I expect the Niner quarterbacks all to play well in the preseason.
What do you
think
of this?
Darnold will, Lance will, Allen will. Purdy may not even play in the preseason.
Right.
And I just think that there's a very good chance that that Lance is going to play really well. And then I think the Niners will get better offers for him. And then it will be a matter of, the one thing I don't know is I don't know how they'll respond to that. Will they look at their financial situation, recommit to Purdy and say, we'll trade Trey Lance and recoup some of the draft capital that we spent to trade for him? Or, I think if I was going to move him this year, I want a player that's going to help me win the Super Bowl this year. So I want like Montez Sweat or Chase Young or, some significant defensive end who could help me win this year. Otherwise, I don't want to trade him.
What do you see in preseason? I threw this out today. Why not? I don't think Purdy plays, like you said. There's 12 quarters in the preseason. Why not go 6 quarters, full quarters for Lance, 4 for Darnold, and 2 for Allen, and you got to see what Trey can do. He needs reps. He's never going to have more of an opportunity than now. Maybe even play him more than 6 quarters.
I'd play him like 3 quarters tomorrow, play Darnold in the 4th.
Yeah.
And then in the second preseason game, maybe I'd start Darnold, play him the first half, play Trey in the second half, something like that. But more than anything, it's just like I really believe that Trey's going to play well. And then if he plays well, I think there'll be some teams that will offer the 49ers good draft pick compensation, maybe even a player and a pick. And then the question is, how well does Darnold play? If Trey plays well, see, a lot of people are like, I hope if Trey doesn't play well, they'll trade him. And if he plays well, they'll keep him. And in reality, it might be the opposite. If he plays poorly, they're probably going to keep him because they don't want to just cut him. And there'll be no trade market for him. If he plays well, there'll be a trade market for him. And then they would have the choice of trading him or keeping him. But I think there's also the Darnold factor. Darnold has to play well too. Because if Darnold doesn't play well, then I don't think the 49ers inside their Super Bowl window would be comfortable moving off Trey. Even if Trey plays great, but Darnold plays terrible, are the Niners really going to feel comfortable going with Darnold as the backup? Probably not. I think if you're going to see Trey moved, Trey has to play great and Darnold has to play well.
Hey, Larry,
interesting point.
I know you got to go, Larry, but real quick, a wide receiver question coming off the quarterbacks for once. With Ray down, who do you like to grab that number 5 spot out of maybe Tay Martin, Ronnie Bell, and Chris Conley?
I'm a Tay Martin guy, but I mean, Ronnie Bell's got great ball skills too. His dad is a college football wide receiver coach, and he's just really refined. But Tay Martin's big and has great catch radius. I really like Tay Martin, especially if they decide they want to keep Trey Lance. Tay Martin's got a great rapport with Trey Lance. He's found him countless times already this summer. Tay Martin, they called him Big Play Tay at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
He's got huge ball skills. He's 6'3". He's got a huge radius, great hands, and he's worked on his weakness, which is his lack of upper body strength. So I would say Tay Martin, but Ronnie Bell at times looks spectacular. Both those guys have tremendous ball skills.
Conley doesn't really have a shot.
Conley's a great blocker, but he still drops the ball.
Okay.
Who becomes the punt returner with McLeod out?
Maybe Ronnie Bell. Maybe there's also a corner named Deshaun Jameson, who's a phenomenal return man.
Yeah. Watch for him.
Jameson is electric.
He can return.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great, Larry.
All right, Larry.
Awesome.
Have a great night.
Thanks.
Have a good one, Larry.
Los,
Kruger.
Danny. Peace.
Thank you both.
Thank
See
you. All right, Larry Kruger. Check him out. Krug Show. He's covering the 49ers like no other out there. And you guys, you'll be on the show tomorrow. I think he said, 9 a.m. with
9 a.m. Yep.
Yeah, so with the coach, I think. Yeah, so check him out. Larry is he's a very passionate Giants fan, and he knows the Giants, but it's with the way the Giants are playing and his access to the 49ers camp, and that takes a lot of work. It's almost like a full-time job to cover the 49ers and get that content out there. And with the Giants being as frustrating as they are, it's pretty tough to do the Giants on a regular basis. We do it because we love punishment. No.
Check out what Liam said. Bochy definitely had the loudest cheer. It was silent for Kapler.
Hey, I said that last week. That was yeah.
Thanks, Senior. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks for the support.
We talked about this stretch for weeks now, and here it is, and here it comes.
Well, tomorrow you've got is it Cobb
Haney.
tomorrow?
Cobb tomorrow.
Cobb versus Haney. Haney's a left-handed strikeout artist, which doesn't bode well for the Giants, who strike out a lot. So probably another low-scoring game. Hey, you know what? I know we're kind of banging on the Giants, but they only did lose 2-1 today. It wasn't like they got smashed by a team.
Well, hey, wait till the bats wake up. If the bats for Texas wake up.
I really thought this pitching staff would start to break down a little bit, and they're actually holding up pretty well. So if the bats can get going, we'll see.
Yeah.
But real tough stretch.
Well, I'm not reaching for the chat here as I'm sitting back because of my back here. I'm not supposed to bend forward. So I don't know if there's anything that needs cleaned up there in the chat.
You got Chardall wanting to come on, but
come in late.
Let's see what we got here.
What else we got in there? Just go through it.
Some of the Niner stuff. Nothing crazy. Mark's asking, is Purdy get any snaps this preseason? He kind of went over that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get much, if anything.
Senior wants to know, when are we drafting?
Oh, yeah. We are going to draft probably early September.
The week before the first game.
Yeah. First game's the 10th. So
we got to finalize this list too.
So probably Saturday night, the 2nd, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah, I got to add my son to the list too.
Well, he's then Larry's not coming in.
We'll see. I'll have to ask Larry. I'm going to put my son in. He wants to get in, and nepotism rules, right?
Let them eat cake.
Oh man. Hey, I know that some of the people that said they'd get in, they'll fall off. It always happens. There's guys. We
Yeah,
had a
we'll
bunch
see.
of people last year that committed, and then they don't show up. So
Well, most of the guys on the list are pretty dedicated viewers, so
we
we'll
might
see.
have to do 2 leagues. We might if we get
might
enough
have
to,
to,
if we get enough to do 2 12s. I don't want to go over 12-man league though.
unless you want to do 2 10s.
No, that's
Can you
no
do
fun.
2 10s?
You could do 2 10s.
Maybe we'll do that. Maybe.
Ooh, 10. That's a lot of talent in 10, man.
That's a lot of talent, isn't it?
That's the problem, right?
I can get some good players in the 8th, 9th rounds there.
I know, man. You go 10 team, you're going to have a
See, and
a lefty's pitching for Texas tomorrow, so I expect Ramos to be in the lineup.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ramos will be batting in the 8th spot tomorrow.
so you think it's going to be Slater, Matos, and Ramos out in the outfield?
Yep.
Did Conforto not play tonight?
He played tonight. He didn't do nothing though.
Well, I guess he did. He did nothing, right?
Nope.
All right. So here's the lineup tomorrow. Gosh, who do they bat lead off when they don't put Wade in there? Is it
Slater?
Slater? Gosh. All right.
Slater,
Slater who won't steal a base because of his heat.
Did you see how bad he looked against Chapman?
Yeah.
3 pitches. Sit down.
Sit
All
down.
called strikes.
Yeah. They'll put Slater first. I'd put Matos first personally, just because break him out of his funk. If it were me, my lineup would look like this. I'd go Matos 1, 2. Let's see who do we got in this? It's too bad. Yeah.
Estrada?
Yeah, I'd go Estrada 2 at second base. I'd put Ramos. I'd bat him third. You know,
Over Flores?
I put Flores 4th.
Oh, cleanup. Okay.
He's got the most. Yeah, I put Flores 4th. I put J.D. Davis 5th at third base. 6th, I would go with Estrada will be playing short tomorrow, and then the 6th, I'm gonna go with.
Bailey?
I don't know if I want Bailey. There's one more guy who's my other. Slater 6th. Slater 6th in left field. Ramos in right. Matos leading off. This isn't what they're going to do, though. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not trying to guess their lineup. 7th, I'd put Bailey catching.
8th, Mathis.
8, Mathis, and then 9. I'd probably put like Conforto as a DH or something. You don't have another righty, right?
No.
I just put Conforto at the bottom, just like, all right, no pressure, knock some balls, knock some people in.
Problem is you have no righties left on the bench when you want to mix and match at the end. But that's the way the Giants are. That's
how they do it. I mean, I don't think you can keep playing Crawford and expect him to hold up.
Right.
So what other lefties you going to put out there? You're going to put maybe if you want to keep Slater on the bench, I would do that and put Conforto
out in the outfield.
In the outfield, and then I would maybe
DH Jock.
DH Jock or something like that, and just keep my righty on the bench. But I'm playing, Ramos drilled that ball tonight off Will Smith.
He did.
And he smoked it. And, good for Ramos. I hope he does so well that they can't send him back down when Yaz and Haniger come up. Yaz is going to come up, and they're probably going to send down Ramos, won't they?
Yeah, and they'll send down Ramos. Yeah, once they activate Yaz, because I guess he's on the verge. So
yeah, Yaz may come back as early as Sunday, they say, right?
Liam, we probably won't see Meckler at all this year, to be honest with you. Probably won't see him. We got too many outfielders coming. 90%. We got Yaz coming back. You're going to have Haniger coming back. I bet you we don't see Meckler. Not this year.
Yeah.
September
unless
1st,
there's an injury.
The rosters expand, don't they?
Yeah, but you
Russ
gotta.
is-
Only two. Only
It's
two.
only 2. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
It'll
going to
be-
get no
it'll
playing
be-
time. You can bring him up, but he's just going to be sitting on the bench. I'd rather him play on the.
I want to see Schmidt and Luciano come up and send the guy Mathis. You know, he's not
Back
part
him.
of the future. He's 29. Play the young kids. Get him playing. You know, the team was much more exciting to watch. They're just it's just awful. So anyway, tomorrow is is it a late game tomorrow? 4:00, 5:00?
I think it's a afternoon game. Yeah, I think
me
it's 90s night. So I heard him say it's 90s night tomorrow.
90s night. Let's see what time the game actually is tomorrow. Game time, Giants 6:05.
Ooh, it's going to have the shadows. That's going to be tough. The first
Oh,
couple
good.
innings.
Yeah, the Giants will hit. Well, bet the under again. So and then
That's what you should be playing, Danny. Unders.
oh, I do all the time. Unders, under.
So,
Giants.
Los, would you say that the COVID put you up in the rock? Did it put rock?
It felt more like a pile driver, an Undertaker pile driver. Yeah, that knocked me
DDT?
out. Yeah.
Oh
No
my
doubt.
goodness. Oh
No
my
doubt.
goodness.
Look at Dan's like, oh, here we go.
The rat.
Hey,
The rock.
I might
You
just
know
have
what?
to
I
wear
tell
a
you what,
mask.
though.
I might just have to wear a mask everywhere. I'm not trying to catch that thing again. Jesus. And I hate wearing those, but God.
Well, whatever. I'm
was
not going
rough.
to get into it. But you know, it was the weakest finishing move was probably Hulk Hogan's leg drop. That's kind of weak, don't you think? As far as the ferocity
for
of
a
it.
superstar, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
kind
a
of
leg
well,
drop.
Hogan was never a great wrestler. Like
No,
he's
he
a great
wasn't.
showman, but
Yes.
that's why I always have certain wrestlers higher
Correct.
because they were good on the mic and they could wrestle
Technical skills. Yeah.
not just for 10. That's why I don't like Luger too much because when did you ever see Luger wrestle for more than 15 minutes?
Yeah.
He had like
No, I
3
get it.
moves and he always flexed in front of the. I mean, that's why I'm more of a Sting guy. I'll take Sting over Luger anyway.
Right. No, I get you.
Yeah.
Same thing with Randy Macho Man. I used to love that flying elbow.
There you
That
go. There
thing,
you go. Danny.
it looked vicious.
Wrestling talk.
Vicious.
I like watching the MMA because it's real, and especially when someone gets choked out. That's pretty wild.
Hey, wrestling's got the sleeper hold.
I saw on Twitter the other night. It was a chick thing, the MMA, and one gal, she got totally choked out. She was just out, and the girl that choked her out just like was down and just kind of took her foot and she was on her back and she just pushed her over onto her stomach, and she was like, it's just like she was just like, get out of the way, I'm trying to get up, and she's jumping up and down, and this girl is just totally out, and they're working on her and helping her come back, but man, she was in such a position she couldn't tap.
Tomorrow's game is for a 30-year reunion for the 93 team.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
93
yeah.
team. Yeah.
That was a great
Well,
team.
maybe it will start a little bit later with the ceremony.
Probably not much later. If they start at 6:05, the Giants generally
Start
do
on
those
time.
starter.
The shadows are going to be rough up until about 7:30 or so, 7:45.
Not that late. Well, maybe.
Yeah, because I know when they start at 7:15, they're still got a little bit of shadows, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it's Rangers are here to do business. Rangers
Yes,
are
they
fighting for a division title.
Yep.
They don't want to be in that wild card.
Right.
They've got the pitching, the horses to line up their rotation. If they get a bye, they got the rotation to go all the way. And
Take it easy, boy.
nothing would be greater than to see Bochy win another one. If the Giants can't do it, which it doesn't appear they will,
Well,
I don't know.
Like I said earlier, the elephant in the room is if they win and they make the playoffs, and the people you don't want there are going to stay there.
Well, that's the catch-22, Los.
Very catch-22. I know it's a hard thing to talk about, but it's there.
Here's the thing, and I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to win 88 to 90 games. But if they fall back just a little and go 84 and 78 or 83 and 79, 82 and 80, they're still going to bring back the same group. For them to get they're 62 and 54 now? Is that what the Giants are?
Yes.
Yeah.
For them to not make to do a regime change, they got to win 75 or less. They have to fall flat on their faces.
That's sad.
And I don't think that's going to happen, but that's about the only thing that's I believe would get ownership to say we got to make a change. I mean, seriously, if they go 82 and 80,
then that's what they were expected to do at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see your point. That's a point. But bringing in Posey is causing a whole different dynamic.
Could be. That's what we're hoping.
May be on the horizon. So
we don't know. We don't know. We're all just speculating. The fact that he's moving back. It could be that he just wants to be closer to, he's got a lot of friends that he made out here, living out here for 10 plus years. And, maybe moving back to Georgia to be with family. I do tend to think it would have something more to do with the ball club.
It makes sense.
It makes sense that he would be more actively involved in more day-to-day operations of the team.
Like I said, as an owner, do you have to be in San Francisco to be the owner? Not necessarily, right?
No.
Did Posey sell his Georgia prop?
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
See, now that to me is surprising because you're Buster Posey. Like, you can keep both houses. His wife's family and his family are all from Georgia. Like, to sell completely,
and he just moved back.
Yeah. So to come back here 100% of the time, there's
tells you something
there.
We don't know for sure if he's selling his Georgia home.
Yeah, I mean that's why I asked.
I don't even know how you find. I don't know how you find that stuff out. But if he is coming back, and there's another interesting thing. This whole thing with the Giants asking Lou Marston, a senior season ticket holder, to commit
crazy.
September 3rd. What is that about? I've never heard of anything like that. That's unusual. You're asking a team to commit prior
to the season ending.
The season ending, and you don't know what they're going to do next year.
Because you had until after the off season to decide last year, right, Dan?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So,
here we go. Senior saying his Georgia home is on the market. It's public.
Can we find that? Can you
stories on it?
Senior, text me a link to that, and I'll see if I can put that up on the screen, because that would be some pretty big news.
Even Hiroku, he's mentioning it as well. His home was up for sale. Interesting.
Wow.
There
you go. See, there you go, Lois. And kind of, if it pans out, that's something.
It would be one thing if he kept the house there and went back and forth because he's in a part-time positional role, but to completely sell the Georgia home and be 100% of the time here, that just kind of tells me he's up for a big role. But again, it's speculation. Wishful thinking, actually.
I heard there was a Korean star player that is out for the year, injured, that's going to be put up for what do they call that?
Auction?
Not auction. It's kind of like auction, but what do they call that? Put up for,
45. Give me 50. I'll do it 52 million.
But I did hear that the Giants would have some interest in this guy. They showed some interest earlier on, and he's supposed to be let me see if I can find it, the story.
Here we go. Do you see that, Dan?
Let me see. I'm going to move this here.
According, this is realtor.com. June 27th, even 3-time World Series champion Buster Posey is poised to sell his Johns Creek home for $3.85 million, situated on 30 miles northeast of downtown Atlanta. The 8,400 square foot residence sits on more than 6 acres.
Damn. I don't know if I'd give that up. That's nice land out there.
Wow. I
This
wonder.
is
Wonder. Maybe he's looking. Maybe he feels like it's more valuable to put money into the Giants stake, and that real estate's going to be a much more of an increase than the Georgia market.
3.8 will get him a fixer-upper in Moraga, because that's where he used to live.
So it says, so perhaps he wants to better
Lafayette.
accommodate his 4 kids with a larger house in his home state, Georgia, or maybe he's ready to take a more hands-on approach at work back in the Bay. Either way, feast your eyes on what
are you reading? An article?
Yeah. You don't see it? How come it's not showing it? Hold on. I'm looking at hold on. Hitting the wrong one. Here. Let's do this. I did the search. There we go. And this was published on June 27th. So interesting.
And the fact that Boch said he heard he's moving out here.
Yep.
Or out to the Bay.
Yep.
That is interesting after just going there last year to Georgia.
Yep. So we'll have to, and Bochy slipped exactly. And this is back in June.
It's going to get hit with capital gains tax. Not
he probably doesn't care. Yeah, I know.
No, but I mean,
maybe he's already had it. Maybe he already had it for.
Oh yeah, he might have had it, but even before he moved.
Maybe I thought he bought it when he sold out here before, but yeah, you're right.
I don't know if we could play that sound from KMBR, can we? Have no idea. From the radio?
Don't want to cancel.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, but let me give you a quick Giants injury update, then we'll call it a night.
All right.
Giants injury update. Mike Yastrzemski, diagnosed with grade 1 strain, is participating in full baseball activity and ran the bases prior to the Giants series opener against the Rangers tonight. He will take live batting practice on the 12th tomorrow and won't be far off after that, according to manager Gabe Kapler.
You got it right.
Outfielder A.J. Pollock, left oblique strain, expected return late August, early September. Oh, great. Well, can't wait. All right. That's not even worth reading. DeScofani, who cares? Not worth reading. I think he's done. Brebbia continues his throwing progression in San Francisco and threw a 25-pitch bullpen session today, August 11th, which is now yesterday. Mitch Haniger, expected return late August, early September. The Giants announced that Haniger, okay. X-rays came back clean during Haniger's 6-week checkup on July 26th, clearing the way for him to resume baseball activities. He's progressing with baseball activities and is scheduled to take coach's batting practice in the cage tomorrow, August 12th. So he's taking BPs. Okay. So Cole Wade, Sapucki, yeah, whatever. Perez. Okay. So basically, you're looking at Brebbia, who's looking like he threw today, 25 pitches. He's probably 2 weeks away. And then you've got Yaz, who looks like he's any day now, and Haniger probably in 2 to 3 weeks. So my update when I said the Giants could make the playoffs was based on Luciano and Schmidt being up, being part of the lineup, stacking a right-handed lineup with, some pop with Luciano and Haniger coming back, hopefully, and having and Ramos being up, one of the guys being up. But we'll see. I'm hoping, I don't know. 23-year-old Ramos versus a 30-year-old Slater. I mean, it's really
We're getting.
I mean, Slater has that much upside over a 23-year-old Ramos.
He has that much pull. Him and Yaz.
I mean, Yaz. These guys have been
Wade.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are all coming back to earth. Wade's kind of come way back, hasn't he? What's his on base percentage now, Eric?
Wade's, let's say, I think it's like 380 something.
It was like 425 for a while.
Did you guys notice who mysteriously was not in the chat tonight?
No, he was in there. He was in there. I saw him.
He was?
Yep, he was there.
I didn't see a comment.
Yeah, he was there. Oh, he was commenting in the very beginning. For sure.
Missed it.
I didn't see any of the comments because I was not able to reach that far. Okay, Wade's on base. His OPS is coming down. He's at his
OPS. Oh, they're showing his OPS. That doesn't show his damn on base.
Let me see. I can look on ESPN and look and tell you what the on base, because I'm kind of curious of that.
I'll say 362.
Okay, it's probably more like 375, 380, but let's see who's close. What do you got, Eric?
I thought you were looking at it. I'm looking at something else.
Oh, it's 393.
Oh shit. Still pretty good.
He's hitting 266. Estrada's down to 263. Flores 302. Jock 233. JD Davis 3 up tonight and 3 down. 3 strikeouts.
Yeehaw.
Conforto 0 for 2. Oh, that's why I didn't recognize Conforto if he played, because he only came up twice and then Slater pinch hit for him. I mean, do you really think a guy like, I mean, Conforto, I mean, he's got 18 million in the books. Does he come back next year and go through this whole thing again and risk, like, am I platooned, or do you go out and test free agency again?
I think we're losing lows here. I think we're losing lows.
Yeah, we're done. I'm toast. What time is it? 12:25. Yeah.
12:26.
All right. Tomorrow night, 6:05 game. We will be back tomorrow night about 9:00. Roughly. 8:45ish. 9:00. Giants take on the Rangers. Game 2 against Texas and Bruce Bochy. It'll be Alex Cobb on the mound for the Giants against Andrew Haney. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you to our guest, Larry Kruger, to Los. Hope you're getting better. You feel like you'll be back to normal here by Monday, or?
Eric asked yesterday if I could go 8 or 9 innings tonight. I think I proved it right out of bed.
I think you went to the extras, man.
2.5 hours.
There you go, man.
You're good,
Eric,
to go.
Are we going to do another Boch same?
Oh yeah, we'll have
thumbnail?
the same thumbnail for the whole series.
All right, very good. All right, for Faith, for Buster, we all say arrivederci. Chata.
Woo!